Welcome to day one of the virtual Kyalami 9 hour. Today is all about qualifying and Super Bowl. It's now time to switch over to our live commentators, Daniel Haynes and Ernest Page.
We are live, folks, and it is finally happening. The virtual Kyalami 9 hour is upon us. I know there's been a lot of build-up, there's been a lot of justified hype. And here we are, the weekend is upon us. But of course, this wouldn't be possible without the people involved making this possible. City of Johannesburg is involved, we can't believe it. We've got South African GT Racing Association, the newly formed SA GT Racing Association, Monarch for making everything work together. We got other Dan in our ear at the moment, telling us exactly how things are going to play out. And of course, Sim Race South Africa, SRO as well, Kyalami 9 hour and Jutech. But the man from Sim Race South Africa, I think he's more than just the man from Sim Race South Africa, is joining me today. Daniel Haynes, the 9 hour is upon us.
Oh, I can't believe it. It is so exciting. I mean, it's come together relatively quickly, and yet for some reason it feels like it's taken a long time to get here. And I know guys will probably be feeling exactly that. They've been practicing for weeks on end, and now it's crunch time. Who is going to be the virtual champion of the Kyalami 9 hour? It doesn't get any bigger than this in sim racing in South Africa, I think. So I'm so stoked for it. Really, really excited.
Based on, now I know that we're excited. I'm exceptionally excited. We got some big names on the grid over here. What has been the sentiment within the sim racing community about this competition? Because I know there has been a hunger for endurance racing, and this is the tip of the spear when it comes to endurance racing.
The support that we've had from all the communities in South Africa in sim racing has been phenomenal, and I'd just like to thank everyone that has spread the news for this event. And the sign-up sheet just completely speaks for itself. Anyone that is anyone in sim racing, and even not in sim racing, in real world racing, is taking part in this event. So we're going to see some real world drivers against the best in the sim business. How they're going to stack up, it's just so much to look forward to. And I think the excitement, and then there's been a spanner just thrown in right at the last minute with an update to a set of Corsa Competizione, which has probably thrown out setups that guys have been working on for weeks, and they've gone back to the drawing board with only 2 days to get themselves prepared. So going to be some nervous drivers out there. They would have been settled before, but maybe not so much now, and it could just throw a little bit of a cat amongst the pigeons. So it's going to be brilliant. I don't know who's going to get pole.
I cannot believe that there are so many changes that have happened. There have been so many updates, and it'd be interesting to see how that affects the drivers. I've been following practice at the moment, and based on seeding, it does look like some of the same names are on the top of the bill. You've got obviously the Porsche in first place in seeding, Leslie Oliphant, one of the quickest drivers out there. You've got Chris Heineke with a shatteringly fast time, Zahir Essa, Michael Stevens, Stuart White, and the list goes on all the way down till number 50. We've got 50 cars on the grid. It's going to be insane out there.
It's stacked. It's properly stacked. In fact, it's so stacked we couldn't put any more cars on the grid. There's a few guys didn't even make it. So we had a seeding round yesterday that was basically you got to put a lap in just to qualify into the top 50, and then that would put you into the class that you were going to race in today, whether it be Pro-Am or the Silver Cup class. We'll get into that a little bit more later. But now today's qualifying session is all about finding where you start tomorrow on the grid. Arguably not as important in a 9-hour race, but I'm telling you what, people want the glory factor of being the Super Pole winner in the virtual Kyalami 9 hours. So guys, it's a lot of bragging rights to get that pole position. So we're going to see everyone put hammer and tong to get that place.
Well, Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong here. We've got 3 15-minute sessions that drivers will go through, and then after that there will be Super Pole to find out who's the best. Now they'll be putting forward their fastest driver in Super Pole, and then we will have the grid places from there. That is correct.
100%, that's it. So every driver in each team gets to put a lap in for 15 minutes. They can have as many laps as they like in the 15 minutes. And then we work out the average time for their team, which will go whether they enter that Super Pole or not. When Super Pole is going to be super interesting because they only get one chance. It's a one-lap hot flyer. So
I love it.
Not necessarily the quickest guy wins when you're under the pressure of putting it down for one lap.
Well, that's exactly what we're here to find out, who is the quickest, and we are about to kick things off, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to start the qualifying of the virtual Kyalami 9 hour powered by Monarch. My name is Ernest Page. I've got Daniel Haynes in the virtual commentary booth. I'm at 80K at the moment, Daniel. You're comfortably sitting at home.
Well, I got kicked out of ATK this morning and had to go back down the N2 to my own booth. So, yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem at all. No problem at all. I'm very comfortable here, very happy to be here, but more excited to see the action as the servers and all the drivers now get ready to kick things off. I'm busy logging onto the server on my side over here as well, and keen to see how these drivers do. 50 cars on the grid, only one first place finisher when it comes to qualifying, only one winner at the end of the day. You've got some of the best drivers in the country, the who's who, as you say, of the sim racing community and real racing. Here we go, folks. It's time to find out who's the quickest in the virtual Kyalami 9 hour qualifying. Let's do it. Okay,
we're on track.
On board with Essa now. Essa, of course, a champion in the sim racing space in multiple disciplines. And first thing you'll notice before we get into the cars, Dan, is just look at this heads-up display over here. We've got so much information to play with this time.
It's awesome. Big shout out to our production team that's put a live tower in Assetto Corsa Competizione. So none of this stupid wait until you go through a sector to see where they are. We'll actually have live timings all weekend. We'll see those live deltas coming down as fights start to progress, and we won't miss anything. So it's brilliant. But here we go in qualifying session 1. So this is 50 drivers, and it's their driver number 1 of their team. So they're putting 1 lap down here, but it's not to get them position. It's just to start their average time for their team. So they've got to rely on their other drivers as well. So if you've got one unbelievably quick guy, and then someone messes up in session 3, it's going to all that hard work is gone down the drain. So it's not as easy as it looks. But we've got some familiar names at the top. Yeah, 100%.
Well, on board with Essa at the moment, and Essa is one of those drivers that's absolutely one of the fastest, if not I think he's second fastest from seeding yesterday. Michael Steven, his teammate Michael Steven, of course, 3-time South African champion with Audi alone. I mean, multiple other titles in his name, and of course the very talented Stuart White joining them as well. But Zaire Essa is still the quickest in that group, Sim Racing Masterclass, as far as times on the board goes. So he's certainly helping his team get near the tip of the spear. They're currently in second place in seeding, 5th place on the board at the moment, but it's still very much early days as he makes his way around the top now, heading down the mine shaft, coming out of Leeucorp now. And Zaire Essa is certainly one of the guys to watch in this weekend's festivities.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't need any introduction whatsoever in the sim racing world. If you're doing sim racing in South Africa, you know who Zaire Essa is. But he's got a couple of teammates that people outside of sim racing will probably know who they are, and Stuart White and Michael Stevens. So the sim racing masterclass team, will they be a masterclass this weekend? Will those pro drivers be able to put up the same sort of pace that we know Zaire Essa can do? That's one of the big questions we'll see answered.
And it's not just about out-and-out pace, isn't it? We're talking about a 9-hour event here. Those two drivers do have extensive real-world 9-hour experience, or real-world endurance experience. So they'll have to translate that over as we go on board with Kalen Mawa. Now, Kalen, I got familiar with him in GT Sport. One of my favorite drivers in the GT Sport series we had last year. He's now pulling over to the side down the mine shaft, slowing right up, maybe lining himself up for a lap, but it's busy out there, Dan. It's very busy out there as we now cut over to Van der Merwe in the Ferrari.
It really is, isn't it? 50 cars on this circuit. I mean, it's quite a big circuit, but yeah, you put 50 cars in it, all desperate to try and get a hot lap in. It's hard to find the position. So 15 minutes sounds like a relatively long session, but trying to get that perfect slot without traffic might be tricky for some of these guys. There's a bit of skill involved in that.
Oh, a lot of skill involved in that. And this is one of the things that I've been noticing about endurance racing. The skill in navigating traffic is part of the skill of competing in the sport. You've got to be able to deal with traffic, as we now go on board with the number 1 car over there. That's Kutsia. And yeah, dealing with traffic is just incredibly difficult because you've got traffic coming from all sides, front and back, side to side. And I think this is going to be one of the situations where that skill in itself is going to help certain drivers a lot over the weekend.
definitely. I'm just looking at the times that I have on my sheet here, and Zaire is obviously, as expected, put an incredibly quick time of a 140.3 already. But we're yet to see a quick time from anywhere else. I'm looking down at sort of Marcus. Oh, there we go. JC Grobler's just done a 140.6. But they're the only two cars in the 140s at the moment. So there's a lot of time still to be had, and there's only 9 minutes left in this session.
It's going to come down to the wires. We now go on board with Kutsa, changing over now to Zaire Esso's at the top of the bowl by the looks of things. JC Grobler in second position now, just getting pushed down as we cut to Grobler. But JC Grobler in second position, 0.2 of a second down on Zaire Essa, who currently just did a 140.3, which is exceptionally fast when you compare it to the times yesterday. Of course, yesterday he did a 140.0. So times are, I would imagine, going to go slightly faster as Grobler makes his way through the course.
But we actually had the fastest time through seeding yesterday was the Slick Racing crew, Marcus Stain, Leslie Oliphant and Chris Heinecker. So let's see how those guys get on. We've got Marcus Stain currently sitting in 4th position, but certainly he's got some time still to be had because it's in the 141s and he should be deep into the 140s. So it's all about that average time of the three, isn't it? So it's not going to, in this first session, it's not really going to show us too much about who's going to get into Super Pole. But you could, you're not going to win it, but you could lose it here.
Oh, yes, indeed. And you know what? This is one of those situations where there's lots of places to lose this race and not just one place to win it. This is not the kind of race that's won in the first corner, but it can certainly be lost on the first corner. It's not the kind of race that can be won in qualifying, but it certainly can be lost in qualifying. So these drivers are going to have to tiptoe their way around. I think the strategy at this stage for most of the drivers would be to make it into the top 10. And certainly for those guys that haven't made it into the pro category, to qualify as best as possible, avoid traffic as much as possible. And Dan, with regard to the categories, we've got 20 drivers in the pro category, and then another 15 in Pro-Am, and then all the way down to position 50 for silver. We've had 53 entries by the looks of things, but as you mentioned, only 50 drivers can go through.
Yeah, when we were properly oversubscribed, we had a lot of international drivers that wanted to join us, but we just didn't have space to offer them a grid slot. So this is all South African drivers only, South African residents only. And that division split that we've got is so nice, because for tomorrow's race, 9 hours, you could qualify. You can be in the silver class, you can be 40th place, and yet if you can win your class, there's prizes up for grabs for the winner of the silver class even, prizes up for grabs for the winner of the Pro-Am series. So we've got little championships all the way through the field, and that is something to drive for no matter where you are. So obviously the overall winner is going to walk away with something special. But if you're in silver class, you've still got something to race for. There's a prize available for your class. So those 15 drivers will be fighting out tooth and nail to try and win their class category.
Well, class categories, there are 3 of them, just like the real world racing, various levels of experience getting showcased here today, and various levels of pace getting showcased today, as we once again cut through to Van der Westhuizen in 17th position at the moment, which means he's in the pro category, at least here, and his time so far 142.3. As we cut to the onboard cam, I mean, just look at the pace of that car. I've been through that very corner in a car with this kind of downforce, and it just feels incredible, Dan. The way these cars are able to corner, the way these cars are able to grip. Has the new update changed a lot of those things as he makes his way now through the S's over here? Has that affected the handling of the cars at all, Dan?
Well, as you can imagine, a new update drops, and as he comes up to Leerkop now, an incredibly difficult corner, completely and utterly blind. You need those trees in the background to use as a sight to get your braking zone. But yeah, as that update dropped, obviously the Discord forums were absolutely awash with guys saying that this update has completely destroyed my car. But I think it's more a case of you get so familiar with a certain setup and a certain way of driving, that if you just change anything, immediately it's not going to feel nice to you. It's interesting that the times, after some practice, the times did start to come back towards where they were previously. I think overall, after the update, it has been slightly slower because there were plenty of drivers into the 139s, which arguably is a little bit too quick, a little bit unrealistic. So possibly Kuhn has just tamed that down a bit. A lot of complaints about understeer from the new tyre model, so that's possibly something that they've changed and they've had to deal with, and maybe just some last-minute setup changes to just try and cope with that new tyre model that's been introduced.
Well, that was Van der Westhuizen early on. We just had eyes on him. That was Sas Van der Westhuizen early on. He just spoke in the driver's briefing. He's part of Grumpy Monkey Racing 2, because there's Grumpy Monkey Racing 1 as well in the Audi LMS Evo. We're now on board with Zahir Essa, also in an Audi LMS in the number 777 car. And Zahir Essa looking really racy out there. No surprises, Dan. I mean, he's 0.4 of a second up at the moment. That is a shattering amount of time, considering how tight the competition is going into this virtual Kyalami 9 hour.
Yeah, he's very close to matching his times from yesterday, but the difference is yesterday they had the entire day to set that lap. They could do 1,000 laps if they wanted to, and Esther's only had 11 minutes to get his 1:40.2, so incredibly impressive from him, as we've come to expect from him. But will his other real pro drivers, maybe not quite so familiar with sim racing, be able to do the same in a 15-minute session? I think Michael Stevens is very familiar also in the sim world. Stuart White, I'm not so familiar with in the simulator world, so I'm not sure whether he's had quite as much practice. I think their time set yesterday weren't quite as close as Essa, but Essa's doing a great job to bring that average right down by the time they average those 3 times together for the Super Bowl.
Well, Essa currently in first position. JC Kroblav with RTA Racing Team Astra in second position. We've got Stain there in third. Jason Isherwood in fourth position. Straydom in fifth. And Van Wyk in sixth. A lot of familiar names out there, but also a couple of new ones, Dan. Some guys that even you aren't that familiar with, as we now cut to Hannes Van Wyk in the Porsche in sixth position.
Well, as a testament to how big that this virtual event is, people have come out of the woodwork that don't even generally race in Assetto Corsa Competizione. They maybe choose other simulators, maybe they are only iRacers. Had quite a few iRacers that suddenly just thought, oh, you know what, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity to race in the virtual Kyalami 9 hour and all it represents. So I'm prepared to learn a simulator that I don't usually drive. So that's why it's so nice to see a few names that we're not maybe so familiar with in the Assetto Corsa Competizione leagues.
Well, Kalen Mauer being one of them, and this is certainly one of those not to miss events, also because it's at the end of the year, and it's at the end of one heck of a year. So we still got about 2 minutes of qualifying left as the drivers now race to the finish to try and get those top spots, but it's not over yet. This is just the start. 3 sessions. If you've got 2 drivers only, you'll only start in the next session and the third one, but the average of these 3 sessions is what counts. So drivers are really going to be depending on their teammates to make sure that they get the results they want, as Hannes Van Wyk stays in 6th position and crosses the line over there. We now go to Stain, Marcus Stain there in 3rd place in the other Porsche. One more question on these, on the timer. Well, one more question for now, Dan. Do the cars shuffle the deck a little bit now? Are there certain cars that are much faster now that the update has come through? I know the BMW is one of the cars that some of the guys are talking about. We've got 2 BMWs in the top 11. The new M4 by Brett Krocamp and Jason Isherwood. So has the tire model changed any of that?
Well, that's what's so interesting. To be quite frank, I don't think there's been enough time since the update to work that sort of stuff out. I mean, it's go as you go. The BMW is a completely new car, so it was dropped. Nobody knew what it was like. 2 teams picked it without it even being released. And then it was released the day before. So they took a complete and utter gamble, and it's turned out pretty good for them. So Jason Isherwood was doing great in the BMW, and we've got the Grumpy Monkey Team 1, I believe, took the BMW, and also seem to like it. So that new M4 that's only just 2 days old, it is. That's all it is. It's a fresh one. We'll see how it gets on. In an Enduro, anything can happen. And obviously, guys will be selecting their cars a little bit different from the sprint races we're more accustomed to. They don't really care about how quick they are on a single lap. It's how good they are over an entire stint, how manageable they are to drive over an entire stint, and at the end of 9 hours, once you factor in stint times and refueling, not necessarily the quickest car on a single lap will be the fastest car tomorrow in the race. So today, Yeah, bit of bragging rights today, but tomorrow is where all the action is.
I mean, speaking of action, Essa is currently 1/10 of a second up, maybe a little bit slower. It's not going to matter though. He's still in first position, goes up ever so slightly. JC Grobler now 1 second down as qualifying comes to an end. The drivers have to complete their laps. A couple of people are in the green at the moment, but for the most part, the format and order will stay the same. I think that we've got 2.5 minutes of waiting left, but I think that's pretty much it for this leg of the qualifying. And but there'll be plenty more qualifying coming, folks. We've got 2 more sessions there, plus the Super Bowl, which, Dan, I am looking forward to incredibly. We'll be right back after this with the next qualifying as the drivers make their way to the pits. And we just got a signal from our producer. We just got to stay in it for a little bit longer. A couple people more on the track.
But I think we've got the usual sort of names at the top with Zaire Esther in the Masterclass team, JC Grobler and Marcus Stain in Slick Racing. So as we'd expect, I think there's no major surprises here. As you say, it's all about Super Pole. That's going to be the real tasty little segment that we have towards the end. Now we're just seeing to see whether any names sort of mess up, if you like, and don't get themselves to the top. But there's not really any surprises in this first session, I don't think.
There comes Stain across the line. That's the driver we're waiting for. Just increased his time a little bit, but not enough. He's still in third position, though. A valiant effort from him. But we'll be right back after this.
This is South African GT Racing, and we'll see you in 2022.
Africa for the third modern rendition of the now world-famous Kyalami 9-hour. After action at the 24-hour at Spa in July and the 8-hour of Indianapolis in October, the championship fight between Audi, Ferrari and Mercedes-AMG is poised on a knife's edge. We are in for another epic conclusion to a very exciting season. For more information and ticket sales, visit Kyalami9hour.com. See you at Kyalami.
So, no surprises. Some racing masterclass. Zaire Esther gets a 1:40.2, a little bit off his time from yesterday, but I mean, that is just shatteringly fast considering all those cars on the circuit. JC Grobler, someone that was at the tip of his spear, certainly in the ATK Pro Series, someone that's won races in a Ferrari, he's now in an Audi in second position, 4/10 of a second down. Stain, 6/10 of a second down in third place. Jason Isherwood in fourth in the BMW, no less. I mean, this is turning out to be such an interesting event, Dan, because we're in a situation now where we're not quite sure what exactly is going to happen. It's not just a one and done situation. You've got all these factors, but you're no stranger to this. You're the man that helps set this whole thing up.
I think we've got the best seat because we just get to sit back here and enjoy some good racing. And then behind us, or not behind me, behind you, there's someone frantically working away an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh yeah,
to work out where they've got
them running up and down.
They'll be the ones that tell us exactly who's in that Super Bowl. At the moment, like we said, we didn't see any major surprises, but it's nice to get onto track, see some cars going around, just see how busy 50 cars on Kyalami looks like. So it gives us an indication of what tomorrow's going to bring. But yeah, until we get to that Super Bowl, it's just seeing whether any mistakes happen. So far, not so much. We'll see whether we get some surprises in session 2.
It's definitely a wait and see situation at the moment because these drivers are now, it's all up in the air at the moment. But Zaire Esther has given his team a 4/10 of a second buffer. I mean, that is just incredible. But when you look at the times, though, the top 10 guys separated by 1.5 seconds, that's a decent space, but I don't think that's going to last. I think drivers are, the the way the grids are set up at the moment, we're not seeing all of the quick drivers out there at the moment. We're not seeing all of the slowest drivers out there at the moment. We're seeing a mix of different team tactics coming into play here. I mean, I would imagine, Daniel, there's a lot of team strategy that has to go into this, because 9 hours is a long time to be going around a racetrack.
The masses, and they've already got each pit stop worked out on an Excel spreadsheet. A lot of these guys, I'm sure they've got all of their stint times worked out. I mean, I do a lot of endurance racing in simulators, and let's be honest, we do it all. We get it all programmed out, and after stint one, something's gone wrong. The schedule's out of the window, and it just doesn't work out the way you think. Maybe it does for a lucky 2 or 3, but generally, you've got to be hot on your feet and cope with something coming your way. So you can come across a back marker that just accidentally clips you. You've got damage. Everything can change in just in that slight split second, and nothing more gutting than if that happens in like hour 7 or 8. Can you imagine? You're going along perfectly and a back marker hits you. That's what endurance racing is all about. You need a little bit of luck, let's be honest.
You do need a little bit of luck indeed. It's been said many, many times. But having said that, certain drivers have been known to make their own luck. And we've seen that with guys like Zahir Issa, that has time and time again taken the top step of the podium. He's created his luck over time. I'm going through the list of seeding drivers over here. Leslie Oliphant also, we haven't seen him out there yet. I expect to see that he would do a fantastic time when he does go out there. Chris Heineke as well. We've got Tariq Adam as well. And the mystery man is our man Jordan Sherritt going to be joining us today at all, Dan? What's the latest on that? Because
no, his team is Custom Cut IT Solutions, and it's not got Jordan Sherritt in it. Unfortunately, it's going to be Luke Addison and
Tariq Adam.
So two very quick drivers on their own, perfectly capable of winning this event. So that'll be another hot favourite, I'd say. Custom Cut IT Solutions team in the Audi, and they're running number 33.
Well, we saw JC Grobler in the number 420 car early on. He's joined by Brian Lewis and Stephen Vessels. And JC Grobler was slightly faster than Brian Lewis, but not by much. So we've got a situation there where your fastest driver is only separated by the other driver by 1/10 of a second. And that's ideally what these drivers want. They want to have the smallest gap between them and their teammates. And it's really about who's able to average out the 3 best drivers over one team. And it's one of those situations where that means that the number 5, number 6 team in seeding could win the whole thing in the end.
Exactly that. It's not about how quick one of your drivers is if the other 2 are slow. You want to have all 3 of you be roughly a good average, a good pace. You want to be about the same consistency. And we've got quite a lot of that in a few teams. I think everyone is paired up very evenly, but there's a few outliers I think we'll see over the weekend.
Indeed. Well, we've still got the Pro-Am category to talk about as well. We got the guys from 118 Racing at the top of the Pro-Am category. That's Flip van Sail, Sean Ladeo, and Dani Steenkamp. And of course, in the silver category, we got Jaco Nadia, Daniel de Villiers, and Martin Rautenbach. And that's how you pronounce that name, Daniel. Martin Rautenbach.
You've been practicing that. I know
I have been. I've been practicing so many
for the next 2 days.
I've been going through these names over here. Some familiar, some not. But what a good 50 cars lining up together going into that first corner at Kyalami. It is going to be mega. You folks don't want to miss that one. I mean, Super Bowl is going to be exciting. We're kind of building up to that now. We're kind of easing into things. It's a slow burn at the moment, but things are going to be at fever pitch in the next 40 to 50 minutes or so.
Oh, they really will. And those classes, I just love the fact we've got classes exactly like real world. So, all right, they're all GT3 cars. The guy that's in 50th position in a Lamborghini technically has the machinery around him to win this thing. But realistically, that's not what he's there for. He's trying to win his silver class. And it's almost like a multi-category event within one event. Brilliant.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Gives everybody a chance. And speaking of chance, we're going to take a little bit of a break ourselves. And we'll see you guys after this break. in the
questions. We've got quite a lot
722
of
car.
viewers, and we'll see. Oh, we got Ernest back. We're back, Ernest. How are you?
Hey, very good, thanks. Very good. Some technical difficulties. This time it's not me at home in my pajamas. I'm here at the ATK office, so something's gone awry. But we're back now. We've got the number 722 Porsche over there, Daniel Erasmus, joined by Arnold Kraus, and he was in 46th position in the silver class. So let's see if he can improve today as the Coach Dev Academy signage in the background there shines bright. Goes into the first corner now down the main straight of Kyalami, and what a circuit this is. The Kyalami virtual Kyalami 9 hour has now officially kicked off. And just look at those on-screen graphics there, Dan. We can actually see their mid-corner speeds. We can see their gears, position, numbers, all sorts of interesting info that makes this job slightly easier.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the production room earlier, and they got some very fancy tools we'll see over the weekend. So we can get some speed traps going. We can see exactly which manufacturer is quicker through which section. So expect a lot over the weekend. In the meantime, I'm just looking through the Quali Session 2 sign up. So who's actually in this server, which names that we should expect to see. Leslie Oliphant being the big one. He was the one that got the fastest lap yesterday. He's currently down in 9th position in the 953.
Yeah, don't expect him to stay there though.
I don't think he will do. Who else have we got? We got Morgan McCall in this server. We got Tariq Adams in this server. These are the guys that will be, after 15 minutes, expecting to head. So that's the surprises we're looking at, whether they will or not get to the top. Kieran Patterson, also in session 2, another name familiar in the ACC world here in South Africa. Paul Venter, another one. Wesley Ferrant. There's quite a few. Jason Absmar, there's loads. The more I look, the more I'm not seeing at the top. So we're waiting for him to get up there, and I'm sure they will after 15 minutes.
Oh, indeed. Leslie Oliphant now on screen in 9th position. He's already up 1.7 seconds over there, and he will no doubt be sliding further up the field as he makes his way into the final corner over there onto the main straight. Leslie Oliphant in 9th place. Jason Abschmeyer now taking first place with a 140.962. Tariq Adam now pips him with a 140.8, and Leslie Oliphant takes a 140.7. So there you
They're
go,
starting
folks.
to come to the top, aren't they? We were wondering where they were, and it didn't take them long. Leslie Oliphant, Tariq Adam, Jason Absmar, the 3 hot favourites, the ones you would expect to lead this session already with only 4 minutes gone. They're in the top 3 spots.
Frobler with a 141.0, just behind Abschmeyer, 1/10 of a second off Abschmeyer's time. And look at Leslie Oliphant now, 1.5 tenths of a second up or thereabouts. So, and I expect him to improve that as the time goes on. But Leslie Oliphant looking very much in a good space at the moment. He's got a little bit of space in front of him. There is a car behind him, and that looks like one of the BMWs there behind Leslie Oliphant. As we go on to our helicopter cam, this is Jean Leroux, the number 10 car, at least position 10, the number 404 car, Jean Leroux. And he's currently in 11th position, just got pushed down over there. And Jean Leroux yesterday qualified in 18th position, or the team did, with Volkskenk being his teammate, 2 Volkskenks, Conrad and JW, his teammates, as we now go on board with Jean Leroux in the Porsche.
Leslie Oliphant's going to do a quicker time here. He was 4 tenths up on his lap. Remember, yesterday he managed a 140 flat, quickest time of the day. Almost snuck in to the 39s, just 21 hundredths of a second out of the 39. So he's done a 140.7, but I'm expecting him when he crosses the line to improve upon that. He needs to get down to, what do we see, Etta, 140.2, around about there? Wants to try and get about there if he can.
Well, 7th place now for Leroux, and that is a fantastic performance for him. He's going to be happy with that one, that's for sure, as Oliphant now tops the standings with a 140.7. Tariq Adam in 2nd place, just 1.5 tenths behind him. Abschmeyer currently in the pits, and so is Grobler with Vessels in 5th place, half a second down. We now cut to Lionel Klue in the number 32 car over there in the Porsche as well. Lots of Porsches out there at the moment. Goes up to 5th place, and lots of Porsches out there at the moment. Dan, what do you make of that?
Yeah, obviously, historically, Porsche has been incredibly strong around Kyalami, and it used to be a bit of a Porsche Cup. It's actually more, I think Audi's the most popular brand that's been selected for this virtual 9 hour. And in the real one as well, that Audi were coming here in force. We won't talk too much about next weekend, unfortunately. It's been slightly delayed, but when it does happen, it will have plenty of Audis. And but we're seeing a lot of pauses. We're concentrating on quite a few. So maybe in qualifying trim at 911 to quit.
Yeah, the 911 is certainly quick. It has been quick, and there was one year in Assetto Corsa where it was pretty much untouchable if you could tame it. It was a very difficult car to drive, but certain drivers were able to cope with the type of style required to get this car around this type of circuit quickly. I mean, it was a very sort of rear-heavy car with that engine all the way at the back, and if it did snap on you, it snapped quite violently. But now we've got two Porsches on screen here, Christopher Pretorius and Daniel de Villiers, both of them 15th and 19th, looking good in those Porsches. So I do think Assetto Corsa has made these cars slightly easier to drive over the years, Dan.
I don't know. Possibly. Yeah, maybe. I'm sure a lot of drivers will argue the opposite. They always like to think that the car that they've got is the worst possible car, and if they won, it was all 100% skill and nothing to do with machinery. But yeah, possibly. But I mean, I would like to just point out how good do some of these cars look. We've got custom skins and liveries throughout the field. We've got a car stranded in the middle of the track. I hope he gets that out of the way. But yeah, they're looking awesome. Some of the skins on this grid are going to look amazing tomorrow. And we have had a design competition on who comes up with the best livery. And we'll be mentioning that a little bit more tomorrow during the race. But in the meantime, if you see any you like, make sure you point them out in chat, and we can try and spend a bit of time with them, because there's some proper class cars around here.
Oh yes, I mean, these guys have spent a lot of time trying to make sure these cars look as good as possible. Speaking about as good as possible, Tariq Adam and Michael Steven, the South African national champion in an Audi, who's now on a virtual tour around Kyalami in an Audi, both up on times. Leslie Oliphant now making his way, still with the 140.7, but gets pipped. Tariq Adam gets the fastest lap of the 140.580, and Michael Steven now also making his way through. He's going to be looking good as well, I'm sure. 0.2 of a second up at the moment, so he might get second at this stage of the game. Michael Steven, now we're on board with him as he makes his way to the top of the hill. Down the mine shaft he goes, but 2/3 of the lap completed at the moment, and what a section. Now just look at the speed. 200 kilometers an hour, 210 kilometers an hour through the mine shaft, 220 kilometers an hour flat out, downforce, 230 into the hard braking zone, now through the right-hander, and now heading through Crocodile. And then after this, one of my least favorite corners, Cheetah, an exceptionally difficult corner, but Michael Stevens would have done that many times, Michael Steven. And as he makes his way through the final corner now, he is up at the moment, currently in third position. It's very quick, Dad. Let's see how he does. Goes across the line, 180 kilometers an hour, stays in third position, but only just.
Yeah, but it's all about improving your own personal time, isn't it? So you get down your average for your three drivers. That's a great run from Michael Steven. Very, very impressive, as we would expect from him, and his real skills are coming out in the virtual world. So I think Esther will be pretty proud of his teammate there. He's taken a solid time towards session 3.
Yeah, we go on board now with Hancock's down in 30th position. That is the Aston Martin over there, number 884 car. And Aston Martins have not been historically used as much, that car. These guys are currently in 41st position in the silver class, so they're looking good in silver class in that Aston Martin. So they're going to want to be as high up as possible. The driver at the moment, that's Jeff. Jeff managed a best time of 142.4, so anything around there would be advantageous for him at this stage.
We've got I was actually quite surprised at the amount of Astons that signed up for this event. There's a lot. You'll see quite a few on the grid tomorrow, and apparently it's a very good, stable car. It's a good all-rounder, copes well with weather as well, and we're probably going to see some weather tomorrow. Let's be honest, in 9 hours at Kyalami, we would expect to see a bit of a splash or two, and that's where some car selections might come into their own, even if they're not the quickest outright on a one-lap pace.
Dan, Michael Steven currently up 0.2 of a second. He's currently in third position. This might shift things around a bit. Michael Stephen crosses the line but stays third, but goes 2/10 up with a 140.6. So Michael Stephen doing really well there for his team. And as you say, Dan, this is all about those average times across 3 drivers, sometimes 2. And Leslie Oliphant also now looking quite good with 2/10 of a second in hand. It's so close between the two of them, though. Just look at the 3 top drivers.
Close.
I mean, that's just 1/100th of a second.
Yeah, my word, that's crazy. That's crazy close. And there's a bit of bragging rights to try and win your split, isn't there? That's all that you can do as a driver. You can't drive the car for your teammates. You just want to do the best that you can. If you finish first in your split, who cares? That's all that you want.
Exactly, but these drivers, they're going to be plenty of little competitions happening in between themselves. Oh, somebody gets shunted off there, one of the Audis. I think that's the 666 car over there. I think he might have got a bit of a nudge from the back. That's Jason Abschmeier's car. That's Jason Abschmeier's car over there. So that's the 666 car off the circuit.
He'll jump back to pit and try again. He's got enough time to get another out lap and then another quick lap, so he'll definitely be having another go with Jason Abschmeier in the 666 car. Who picks 666 as their number? Honestly, that's just asking for trouble. That car probably killed him on its own, to be fair, with that number.
Yeah, no, that's not a good idea, I don't think. But certain people believe certain things, and maybe that's the move. I personally would have gone for 333 instead.
Some interesting numbers, but that one of the most interesting. But Leslie Oliphant, he's holding on to this just by the sort of enamel on his teeth, isn't it? It's that close. It's so tight at the top over Tariq Adams. Michael Stevens improved a little bit more though. He's got down into a 40.6. So
Tariq Adam is
time yesterday.
Tariq Adam is up at the moment, ever so slightly, still on the first sector, so we won't see anything on the screen just yet. But it is, as you say, I love that phrase, by the enamel on his teeth. It is really that close. I mean, there's absolutely nothing in it. Blink and you miss it. The top 3 guys separated by not much at all. And he's got a purple sector there, looks like it, Tariq Adam. And let's see if we can do the same for the next one as well. 30.7 there gets a purple sector. Tariq Adam getting some traffic, unfortunately. I think that's going to cost him big time. Costs him a second. Unfortunately, Tariq Adam now out of the running there on that lap at least, and time running out. He's got a minute to get to the finish line to try and do something about this. But as you say, Dan, it doesn't really matter as long as the drivers are at their own maximum potential. That's kind of where they want to be, isn't it?
Well, these really top guys, they're just thinking we've got to get a good average to get into the top 10. And Tariq Adams done enough already, really. So it's just to get into the top 10, and then you get another opportunity at Superpole. Who that will be, whether you're the driver or not. If you can get your car into Superpole to give it that 1 lap chance to start from the front. That's all you're fighting for now. For the rest of the guys, especially if you're in the Pro-Am class or the Silver class, let's be honest, track position at the start, it's not going to be that important, that vital in a 9-hour race, but it does at least settle your nerves, gets you familiar on a track with 50 other cars on it. Well, we just see a car off the track, the 777, and let's cut back to
Michael Stephen running a little bit wide. I do like this view of the circuit. I mean, I've seen this from the view of a chopper, and it just looks spectacular. They've specifically designed sections of this. Oh, somebody spun out there. There's a collision at the bottom going into the final corner. Somebody's been spun out there and facing the wrong way and jumping back to the pits then. But luckily it's just qualifying, so not too much harm done. But that would be the end of that lap, regardless of how quick it was going to be. I mean, somebody just got robbed of a lap there as we now go on board with Tariq Adam with the purple sector in the first sector, currently in position number 2, wanting to improve his time and potentially take himself up to position number 1. I mean, as you say, Dan, nothing wrong with getting a psychological advantage on the top step as he heads down the mine shaft now. Going flat out 230 kilometers an hour through the mine shaft as we glance over to the finish line over there as more cars make their way through. Tariq currently just about 0.2 of a second up, a little bit more going through Crocodile now into Cheetah. He's lost that time again, and he might go fast. There's some traffic in front. Tariq has to make evasive maneuvers and now gets more traffic. It's not what he wants. He's lost all that time. Tariq Adam is going to be livid for that. But that is it from us, folks, for this session. Tariq goes into first place, though. Tariq in first position. He got him right at the end. He still does it. still does it. This is what we've come to expect from
That's
the
gotta
Kyalami
feel
9
good.
hour. That's got to feel great, and it feels good watching it as we wind things up. We'll be right back after this break for qualifying session 3.
The 2022 season is upon us, and South Africa finally has an FIA-approved GT3 series. 6 rounds, 12 races, including the prestigious Kyalami 9 hour. The fastest South African drivers will compete on equal terms thanks to a complex system called balance of performance. Before each round, there will be an almost identical virtual round. This is South African GT Racing, and we'll see you in 2022.
The Intercontinental GT Challenge powered by Pirelli heads to South Africa for the third modern rendition of the now world-famous Kyalami 9 hour. After action at the 24-hour at Spa in July and the 8-hour of Indianapolis in October, the championship fight between Audi, Ferrari and Mercedes-AMG is poised on a knife's edge. We are in for another epic conclusion to a very exciting season. For more information and ticket sales, visit Kyalami9hour.com. See you at Kyalami.
Session 3 is upon us, and Dan, some even bigger names. I mean, they are the biggest names in sim racing are here, and I'm going through the list at the moment. It's just phenomenal. It is an absolute star-studded grid over here. You've got Koenig, you've got Van Rooyen, you've now got White in the mix as well, with some very intense real racing experience. Addison, Van Rensburg, Viljoen. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And these guys, all of these guys are here to win. They're not here to take part, they are here to take over.
100%. Yeah, there's so many names that you can't actually keep track of them all. And it'll be easier tomorrow when we've got 9 hours to do so. But in the meantime, we'll just try and keep an eye out. We saw pretty much no surprises again in session 2. The names we threw out right at the start very quickly found the cream of the crop, and they're at the top of the list. So they've done their team a good favor. They'll bring their average right down, and they'll probably be into the Super Pole shootout. But now you've still got one more driver to go. A little bit of pressure more on the third driver. If the first 2 have performed, third one's got to make sure he gets it up there as well, hasn't he? So you can get.
Well, how was that performance? How was that performance by Tariq Adam? I mean, just snatching it away, having to carve through traffic almost at a standstill through the final corner. Still manages. He was up 0.2 of a second. Loses all of that and pulls it right back on the last corner to just pip second place to take first position. I mean, amazing stuff.
I think he'll still be slightly annoyed because he's left time on the table there, hasn't he? It was there, and that average is going to be a little bit higher as a result. But he topped the timesheet. You can't ask more of a driver than that. Can't ask more than a driver than that.
I also think that even though he just topped the timesheets, it's about making it into the top 10, isn't it? And that's exactly what they've done. And now going into the Super Pole, that's where it's going to count, obviously. But also at the same time, traffic was always going to be an issue here. I think when working out these scenarios, drivers need to look at all potential scenarios. And traffic was something that they'd have to deal with, sometimes on the last corner.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem tomorrow. You got 50 cars. There is a skill gap between the field, as you would expect in any endurance event in the world, real world or simulator. It doesn't make any difference. There's a skill gap there. And it's about how you deal with that back markers and getting past, how you cope with traffic, how well you can get through. So we'll see a lot of that tomorrow. In Super Pole, it won't be an issue. You've got the entire track to yourself. So for some of these teams, it's going to be difficult on who they select. I mean, do you want that pressure? It's like being asked to take a penalty at the World Cup, isn't it? Do you want it? Maybe not so much.
you want it, but you also don't want to get stoned to death when you head back home. So that's so
you're either a hero or zero, aren't you?
Exactly. And yeah, it's a tough one, man. It's such a tough one that I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Honestly, this is one of the things that makes this so exciting, is that we don't know how this is going to turn out and who are they going to send in. We know that Zahir SA has got one lap pace when it comes to one and done. We know that, but I would imagine there are going to be teams further down, 4th, 5th, 6th place, that are going to be having sort of rock, paper, scissors battles to find out who's going to be the fool that's going to have to get behind the wheel of the car for that one lap.
You would, wouldn't you? If you got two guys, you flip a coin, see how it goes. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure I'd want that pressure. As an endurance driver, you're not. Well, I'm not there for the one lap pace. I'm there for the stint lap time. But we've got some guys that are good at both here, and they're going to put up a great fight. But yeah, obviously we're expecting some of those big names like Zahir SA. His pick and his team will probably be a bit easier. He'll probably be thrown in no matter what happens. But some of the others are so close between some of the others that it's going to be interesting who they select. But they've got to get there first, and we've still got one more session to go. It would be a disaster if you don't get in there Super Bowl if you're one of the big teams.
That would be an absolute disappointment, because it gives you the opportunity to go from 8th to 1st, doesn't it? But it also gives you could be the penalty of being stuck in 11th position only just because of one tiny mistake or one driver's mistake. And the thing about endurance racing, I competed in the South African endurance round last year, and just the camaraderie that builds up in a team, the type of teamwork that you need to have, the type of trust that you need to have in your teammates. It's not just about out and out pace. It's about building that rapport with your teammates so that you guys can push each other, find each other's strengths, find out who's got the one and done pace, find out who's the guy that you can double stint, find out who's the guy that's not going to crack under pressure. And that is, I think, what we're going to see today. We're going to see that team bubble up to the surface. It's not an individual sport today, because motorsports often isn't it? This is not that.
No, you're bang on. And I mean, some of these teams have even got spotters. They got guys behind the scenes working out their stint times, working out how long a pit stop takes, making sure they're fueling, working on strategy, whether they come in a little bit earlier so they can jump a guy. I mean, there's a lot. These top teams are putting a lot into this. So yeah, you got specialists within specialists. Some guys will be hidden heroes we don't even see on track, but they come up with the perfect strategy tomorrow, just like you would expect in real world. We've also got a few teams which have got a driver missing today. Because they couldn't make it here on a Saturday. I've just had a message from Daniel Rowe, one of those drivers you'd expect to be right at the top, a very well-known name, VW Works driver. So if that happens and you get one of your teammates fails to set a time, they will automatically be awarded the slowest time in your team, plus a 30-second penalty. So realistically, they're starting at the back of the grid with all the other teams in that situation. I think there's probably half a dozen, but it's going to be interesting tomorrow. We've got 9 hours and they're going to get through traffic, but it's not nice when you've got like a team like Daniel Rowe's team and you've got to try and pass, 45 guys to get to where you should have been at the start. It's going to be a hectic start, but it's going to be good for us to watch because we're going to see
I think it's going to be exceptionally exciting to watch. And speaking of hidden heroes, Dan, we got plenty of those here at ATK, at Monarch, working the scenes of the Kyalami virtual 9 hour. Of course, we've got Eric, we've got Dan, and we got Gage and a whole bunch of other guys. So just like these drivers have the, as you say, hidden heroes, we've got ours. But I do think those are the guys that might make the difference over this weekend. It's not just about out and out fast laps on the circuit. I think we're about to cut over to the action in the next couple of minutes. And then our third session will start. Dan, any predictions for going into Super Pole? Any predictions for going into the third session? I mean, what is the thought process now for some of these teams at this stage?
I think Super Pole, it could be anyone's. You got 1 lap to do it. We'll never know. We'll wait until those 10 are announced. We'll see who they pick, and then I'll put some money on it then. We'll put a wager on it, Ernest.
Let's do that, but Let's do that. But for now, let's go to session 3 and let's see what happens live and in person. Here we go. Kyalami Virtual 9-hour. Session 3 starts now. Elric Enslin in the other 666 car. He's changed the seats with his teammate over there, Jason Abschmeyer, his teammate. And we just got word that Jason was warming up the tires. That's what happened earlier, so no big deal. Just warming up the tires and had a bit of a mishap. But Elric Enslin, I mean, this guy is very, very fast. He does setups for Coach Dave Academy. I'm not sure he still does, but I know he did at one stage. So he is world-class kind of fast. And here he is, the number 3, well, maybe not number 3 driver, but certainly the 3rd driver in that team, looking very good at the moment in that number 6 Audi, in 6th position, number 666 Audi. Something's going on with the number 6 in that team over there.
I mean, he's actually a team of 2, so he's only sharing the seat with Jason Abschmeyer. We've got quite a few teams that are just 2 drivers. You have the choice of being 2 or 3 drivers. I mean, I'm not sure which is more of an advantage. You've got to do 4.5 hours each if you're 2, and you've got to do 3 hours if you're 3, or close or thereabouts, depending on how stints work.
It's a lot of time behind the wheel, man.
Equally, you make sure you've got one teammate who's super strong, and certainly Jason Abschmeyer and Alaric Enslin, I'd expect them to be at the sharp end of the grid after 9 hours tomorrow. I mean, that's a solid lineup right there, even if they're missing a driver.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, though. You do take one. Oh, we got some incidents over there. A couple of cars off on the side of the circuit. So much traffic going on here as they make their way onto the main straight over there. And as you said, it's only the 2 of them. Jason Abschmeyer did a seeding time yesterday. On my list, I've only got a time for Jason Abschmeyer, 140.9. So we don't know what Enslin's going to do at this stage. But I suspect he's not going to be going slowly. But like you said, I think with 2 drivers, it certainly takes away some of the mystery factor of what a 3rd driver would bring to the table, because it is very difficult to get 3 fast guys. It's easier to get 2.
It depends on the team dynamic. You've got a little bit more fatigue factor with only 2 of you, obviously. More time in the seat. Whether that becomes a factor later on as you get into the depths of the race and you think you've spent a lot of time, your concentration maybe weans just a little bit. A fresh feet in the car, maybe that's worth something. I don't know, something we'll have to look out for tomorrow. Looking down the list of who else we should watch out for, we've got Ross Bartle, very, very quick GT3 driver. He's in this session as well. Stuart White, obviously, is the 3rd driver for the Sim Racing Masterclass. He's already seen his first 2 go through and set a very solid representative time, so he doesn't want to let the side down to Stuart. Make sure they get into the Super Pole shootout. Just any other name jump out for you there, Ernest?
Well, speaking of Stuart, Stuart definitely no stranger to pressure as Enslin goes fastest. I mean, he is one of the all-time lap record holders at many circuits in South Africa. So I think Stuart definitely no stranger to pressure, and he's going to be feeling that pressure over here at the moment, going with his teammates. But as I said, I don't think there's going to be any issues from his side. A few other names. You've got Heineke over here as well in the number 353 Porsche, Fenter
Luke
as
Addison.
well. Luke Addison, yeah. Scribanti, we forgot to mention the Scribantis also joining us today, and I'd like to say a warm welcome to them. I just drove around their circuit the other day. I hope it didn't mess anything up when I was there, but certainly a family rich in South African motorsport heritage, and a family that's actually helped build South African motorsport. So it's nice to see the Scribantis taking part in yet something that will build South African motorsport even more.
Yeah, super cool to have them here. We've got Brian Lewis, who we're riding on board with now, another very, very quick driver in ACC, and he's already into 2nd place. But he's more than 2/10 up as he comes down towards the job. So this could be an improvement. Not sure where he is behind Enslin at the moment, but he comes down. It's very tricky, this braking zone into the Crocodile. Super hard, found that difficult. And then this, you said it before, last corner, flick in here at Cheetah. So hard because of that yellow stoppage curve on the inside. You hit that into the
and the outside.
And go wide there, so it comes through Ingwe. And see, this is going to improve his time quite a lot. He's sort of 3/10 up, more even, as he comes across the line. Is this enough of a top spot? It is.
Indeed it
there
is.
We go. Fastest lap, 40.5. Well done.
140.5 for Lewis over there, and he continues on. He's got some traffic in front of him, but he did manage to keep going. He's going to try and go even faster still as Addison now, 0.6 of a second up, currently in fourth position. How is he going to do? This is going to be a very fast lap. As he crosses the line, Addison goes into second place over there in the number 33 car, Luke Addison, and that's the guy you mentioned earlier on. Lewis unfortunately spun out just seconds ago. I was on board with him. So Lewis now back in the pits. I think he got caught up by some traffic, and that really is the story of the day at the moment. I think a lot of these drivers are not going to be happy with all the traffic, but that's a problem that everybody has to deal with.
It's more of a problem in qualifying because you're on purposely slowing down to try and build a slot, get a gap, make sure you're there. And then some people are on quick laps, other people are on out laps where they're preparing their tyres. Not going to be quite as dramatic a difference in the race, where hopefully you're not just sat there weaving around trying to prep your tyres, you're actually going full gun all the time. So maybe traffic this will be the worst it'll ever be all weekend, I think.
Sean Buck was just on screen now. Fantastic looking car there by Sean Buck, but we've now just cut to Stuart White in the 12th position, number 777 car over there. Oh, look at that, bouncing through the mine shaft over there. Now coming up to the right-hander, drivers have to brake hard. A very unorthodox line that needs to be taken through there to line it up perfectly for Cheetah over here as he now go on board and flex it to the right side. Miss the sausage curve, don't run too wide, and now into the hard braking zone for the final left-hander and across the finish line. What will Stuart White do? So far so good. He's up on sector 1 and 3. Yeah, so let's see how he does.
Massively up.
Oh, Stuart goes into third position.
That's a great lap.
Fantastic
You'd expect
lap
nothing
by
more
him.
from Stuart White. He's obviously got familiar with ACC very, very quickly, because I don't think he's put a significant amount of time into this simulator. No doubt he's had a little bit of help from Diasta, but if you're a real world driver, you're going to pick this sort of thing up quickly, aren't you? I think that's your skills have to translate. I mean, they obviously are going to come across.
I think so. I don't think it's like that for everyone, though. I think a lot of the young drivers certainly find it easier. I think some of the older drivers prefer, sort of want to feel the G's or whatever. I do think there's a generation gap there. Stuart being quite young and one of the most talented upcoming GT3 drivers. I'm sure he spent some time on possibly R-Factor or the simulator that you love spending time on. So I do think he might have some simulator experience, but you're right. If this is him trying out ACC for one of the first times, it's an incredibly impressive performance considering the level of competition that he's up against.
Yeah, it really is. And it's super tight in this session 3. But Alaric Ensign is more than a tenth up on his Delta. And I mean, that could be enough to jump him up a few spots. Hell, he got a really good crocodile through the crocodiles. He did well through there. Can he just get this real difficult? Cheetah, no, he's good. He's using all the track as he comes up to Ingwe. And he's, look at that, 4 tenths up. Nearly half a second. Is he going to cross the line? He's losing it now. Had a bad exit out of Ingwe. And here he comes across the line. I'm expecting him to jump up. He's only gained 1 spot, though, into third, Alaric Ensign.
Alaric Ensign in third position. White in fourth. Kruger in fifth. Barber in sixth. Versace seventh. And now we're on board with Van Rensburg in ninth position. Currently 2 tenths of a second up. Mark Van Rensburg in the number 32 car over there in the Porsche. And he's looking very good out there. Very quick. He's sharing a car with Hannes van Wyk and Lionel Klue in the BWR Vipers car over there. They qualified in 10th position, so they're going to want to be at least 10th, or they seeded at least in 10th position, so they're going to want to be at least in 10th or below as he makes his way through. And I think this is going to be much faster. Half a second up at the moment. That's a big jump over there. Gets into 5th place. And I think the BWR Vipers team are cheering each other on at home at the moment. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's just where he wants to be to try and get into that top 10 shootout. But Mark Van Rensburg, I'm telling you now, I've raced with him a lot of times. I've broadcast a few things that he's raced in as well. He is an outside chance to really get up there because he's a very quick driver and he does love that Porsche 911.
Yeah, I think those that love the Porsche 911 really love the Porsche 911, especially in the real world.
Can you?
Yeah, you can't get them out of it.
One make brand, that's it. That's all they need in the world is a Porsche.
Well, speaking of the top flight guys, Chris Heineke now driving. He did a best time of 140.997. Was in the Slick Racing car, which is the fastest car out there at the moment, with the best time of 140.020 with Leslie Oliphant driving behind the wheel. Marcus Steyn did a 140.7 in the same car, and Chris Heineke 140.9. He's currently in 6th position. He should be higher up in the standings, best of 141.0 at the moment, so he's going to want to go a tenth or so faster. He gets right up behind that looks like an Aston Martin over there, and the Aston Martin pulls to the side, crosses the line, gets a best time over there of 140.975, still in 6th position though.
Wasn't really helped towards the end of that lap, was he? He could have done without that traffic through Ingwe. I think he did lose just maybe a tenth or two. That might not mean a lot. He's still in 6th place. I'm not sure. This is going to be super interesting. The guys in the Excel spreadsheets in the background must be frantically working. They're going through sessions 1 and 2 already, and we'll just have to sit and wait until those results come out. But if you're finishing sort of 6th, 7th, 8th in your slot, you're starting to get a little bit concerned whether you're going to make it or not. There'll be
yeah, exactly. As we now go, you've got to get right in their top 5 as we go on board with Addison. If you've got Kivit in front of him here, hopefully not going to be giving him too much trouble. Addison pulls over to the side. Maybe he's lining himself up for a fast lap. This will be his last chance. He could have 2 more laps in hand. He's got 2 more laps in hand. I think he's lining things up as we go on board now with Lewis. Brian Lewis currently at the top of the standings in 1st position. Very happy with that. I'm sure will he be, and his team currently with a time of let's see, 140.5 over there. That is just shatteringly fast stuff. And nobody's done a 139 yet, so anything in the low 140s, low to mid 140s, is going to be an exceptional time. We've got Ensslin now, on screen with a 140.5. I apologize, that's Elric Ensslin now. I was just singing his praises earlier on the number 666 car. Elric, exceptionally fast. He's got a purple sector in the 3rd sector over there, we saw. And let's see how he does now. Down 0.2 of a second at the moment. So not going to be going much faster. Top 2 drivers, though, are going a little bit faster. With Brian Lewis, 0.1 of a second or so up at the moment. Ensslin now making his way into the final corner,
haven't we? We were just thinking, in all sessions, we have seen a little bit of track progression as times have just come in and we've seen people grab it at the death, such as session 2. So it's worth just keep staying out there. 2 minutes to go, and if you've got a banker in, you just tend it. Maybe that's why we've seen some last-minute death times that get right up into the mix. But certainly you will get a bit of track progression, with 50 cars on the grid laying down rubber. So if you get that clean lap and you don't get affected by traffic, you can really make a difference right in these last 2 minutes or so of the session.
This is the number 9 Porsche over here, and we've got Oliver Carr. He's joined by Craig Hume and Wayne Milton. Oliver didn't set a time, he did, with the time of 142.7, his best yesterday. So he's beaten that time, doing a 142.6. Going to be very happy with that. He's in the silver class. So if you're in the silver class, you're going slightly faster. That means hopefully going to push the team up a little bit higher as we cut to Gideon Renner in the 16th position. Ferrari over there, number 319 Ferrari over there. And he's looking good as well. So far, 0.2 of a second up. And they were 24th position, Kinetic Simworks Racing. They were 24th position in seeding, currently 16th. So I think there's a couple of guys are going to be shuffling around. There comes the BMW, followed by the Honda, followed by the Ferrari. Across the line they go, currently in 15th position with a 141.9. And that's a very, very fast time for Gideon over there. 141.9 in the number 319 car over there. He's going to be quite happy with that. His best yesterday, a 142. But someone who is at the top, on top of his game with a 140.5 is Brian Lewis, who now still is going faster, getting caught up there to a Bentley. Let's see if the Boatley, as they call it, moves out the way. Yes, he does. Brian Lewis flying through 0.2 of a second up, and this is going to be a shatteringly fast time. He's going to separate himself quite a bit from the rest of the field. He's going to want to get that extra time. As you said, it's not just about track position at this stage. It's about getting that average pace down. Brian Lewis making his way through 0.2 of a second up at the moment. And I think this is going to be a very, very fast time as he makes his way through Cheetah.
I mean, he's 2/10 up, and he's already. Yeah, this could put a bit of distance between him and second place. We've seen how quick people are right at the end. The clock has gone down to 0. This is his last opportunity, but he's had a good exit out of Ingwe. Going to go up at least a 10th and a half. Yeah, fastest lap of the session, 1:40.382 from Brian Lewis. Going to be pretty chuffed with that one, I think.
That is absolutely flying there from Brian Lewis. He's going to be very, very happy with that. Addison is in second position. He's got no answer at the moment. Enslin might have something to say about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's currently 0.2 of a second up. He's on a 1:40.5. His best time is now just about 0.2 of a second up, coming through the final section over here. Takes a tighter line ever so slightly, and now makes his way through the last sector. You just look at the pace that these guys are carrying, using all of the circuit there. Grabs the apex there. We've got a car in front of him. He's going to try and make it through the section. The car gets squirrely under braking. Loses a little bit of time there. I think he's lost some time, and he's going to go slightly faster. But I think, let's see how that looks. Goes into second place ahead of Enslin. But it doesn't really matter the position. I'm just getting excited here. Well, folks, that is pretty much it from us here for now. But stay tuned. Super Bowl will be happening shortly. We're going to cut to ads, and we'll see you guys soon.
The 2022 season is upon us, and South Africa finally has an FIA-approved GT3 series. 6 rounds, 12 races, including the prestigious Kyalami 9-hour. The fastest South African drivers will compete on equal terms, thanks to a complex system called balance of performance. Before each round, there will be an almost identical virtual round. This is South African GT Racing, and we'll see you in 2022.
The Intercontinental GT Challenge, powered by Pirelli, heads to South Africa for the third modern rendition of the now world-famous Kyalami 9-hour. After action at the 24-hour at Spa in July and the 8-hour of Indianapolis in October, the championship fight between Audi, Ferrari and Mercedes-AMG is poised on a knife's edge. We are in for another epic conclusion to a very exciting season. For more information and ticket sales, visit Kyalami9hour.com. See you at Kyalami.
Well, the scores are getting tallied now, I'm sure, and as you were mentioning, those Excel spreadsheets are on fire at the moment. The Excel spreadsheets, as you can see, people walking behind me are frantically getting things done. Lewis, though, tops the standings in this session with Alaric Enslin in second place. No surprise that Enslin was always going to perform well. Addison in third place. Addison I knew would do well, but third position for him is exceptional time. And then, of course, White in fourth place. 4 Audis at the top of the grid. If this was the Intercontinental GT Challenge, Audi would be smiling all the way to the championship over there.
Yeah, Audi's strong. It's really, really is strong. There's no surprise it's our most picked car, so it tells you everything. But there'll be quite a few teams now that know that they're already into the top 10. They've done what they needed to. If all of your drivers have finished in the top 3 or 4 in your split, you're going to be in the top 10, aren't you? So they'll be already prepping who's going to go. But there will be those ones, those few, those 3 or 4 teams where they're like, did I make it? I'm not quite so sure. And they'll be nervously sat there waiting. Maybe if you're the Super Pole chosen, you're thinking, I don't mind coming in 11th. 11th sounds good to me. But yeah, they'll be waiting for these results. They can take a little while for us to formulate, build an average, get a spreadsheet of those top 10s, and then it'll be announced shortly. So it'll be interesting to see how many Audis are actually up there. I think quite a few.
I think quite a few as well. Van Rensburg in 5th place, Heineke in 6th, both with Porsches, and the first BMW comes in with Bartel bringing it home in the 519 car in 7th position. Aston Martins, you mentioned, then we got Aston in 9th, 10th, in 16th and 19th with Sean Buck there. Sean, nice to see a nice familiar name there. Sean Buck in 19th position in an Aston as well. And a few Hondas in the mix as well. I mean, it's just a nice, varied grid. We had a Porsche Cup race a couple of years ago where most of the guys chose the Porsche because it was simply just faster than the others. But this year, it's nice to see that there's a healthy mix of cars on the grid, and it just makes the racing so much nicer to watch for guys like us, doesn't it?
Oh, it totally is. It's so nice to have a good mixture. I think the only car that wasn't selected, I was a little bit disappointed. We haven't got a Lexus in the field, believe it or not. 50 cars, no Lexus, which is a bit of a shame. But
is Wezza in the field over here? Is Wezza in the field?
He's not in a Lexus. I know that for sure.
Oh, that's disappointing. That's disappointing.
Couple of NSXs though. That's nice to see a Honda.
Yeah, beautiful car.
Acura, if you like. If you're American, it's an Acura, isn't it? It's not a Honda.
It's a beautiful car, but just hasn't got the performance of the others by the looks of things.
Yeah, although it's in a quick team of Daniel Rowe picked the Honda NSX. So we mentioned that he didn't quite make or put a lap in today, so he's going to be fighting his way through from the back. So we'll see exactly how quick it is tomorrow in those early hours as they're trying to work their way through the field. But yeah, lovely to see pretty much every manufacturer put up there. And those two new BMWs that have not been seen in the real world, they've not really been seen in ACC. Is the M4 any good? I'm warming to that horrific grille, I have to say. Do you still like it? I mean, it looks smart.
I like it. I like it a lot. And the thing is, I didn't like it at first, and I still don't like it. I hated it. Yeah, I don't like it in pictures.
But BMW do that all the time, don't they? They come up with something that we hate, and then by the time the car's finished, we're like, well, why doesn't every car look like that? So I don't know whether we're going to see goldfish grills on everything soon.
Exactly, I think we might. Well, look at the second generation E36. People thought there was too much of a departure from the E30. Same with the E46. Same with the V8 M3. Same with going to turbo, etc. They've always historically actually spoke to VW Motorsport guy and race car driver Gennaro Bonafide, and he said that BMW has historically said, you know what, we don't care what you guys think, we're going to do this, and if you don't like it, you're going to like it eventually, and we always do. The V8 M3 is a classic now. Soon the prices are going to be skyrocketing up, and we all love turbocharged BMWs as well. So I think with regard to the grille, when I stood next to the car in person, I finally kind of got it. Those angles make a lot more sense in real life, and I think if that GT car, if we get to see it at the Kyalami 9 hour when it does happen, I hope it's there, and I hope I get to see it in the flesh, because I think in person it's going to look spectacular.
And it promises so much, doesn't it, that BMW? Just so you know, I'm not sure whether you're aware, but that BMW M4 has actually got a steering wheel inside it that was built by Fanatec. It's the first car that is actually, you can take that steering wheel off and put it on a Fanatec and use it in ACC. How nuts is that? It just shows you the lines between sim racing and real world racing, how merged they've got, that the fact that the steering wheel. So you could view it, if you go and buy yourself a BMW M4 GT3, you get a free simulated steering wheel with it. It's a bit of a bargain. 25,000 rand or so.
Totally worth the 18 million rand price tag, or whatever it is you're going to be paying for that car.
Well, it's only a steering wheel. You still got to buy the base, but at least you get a little bit of a discount. And then your other half goes to borrow the car, and the steering wheel's missing because you're currently racing inside of it. So I'm not quite sure how that worked, but it's a very nice steering wheel, and it's happening more and more as the sim world scene starts to wedge its way into real world. And we've got Fanatec being a title sponsor for the GT3 World Series, and I think they've got several wheels coming out that are going to be available for sim racers to buy. So they're not a sponsor of this, but if they'd like to be, maybe they should give us a call. But it's just a demonstration of sim world, real world, getting narrower and narrower and closer together every single year.
Indeed. Well, we're seeing that right now as I reach over for my list of entries over here with a lot of real world races, and some of these drivers are very well known, and some of them might have just turned a couple of laps in their local club championship, but it still means that there's a lot of guys that are going to do the crossover. There's a lot of guys that are doing both sim and real world racing, and I know that in the community certainly there are guys that only do sim racing and see that as their sport of choice. But I think with something like the Kyalami 9 hour, it's got such massive crossover appeal that you can and do have drivers coming from all sorts, and we've got teams comprised of sim racing specialists and real world professionals. I mean, this is what this has come to over the last 5 years or so, hasn't it?
It really has, and that they're probably drawn more to an endurance race where your natural talent has a better chance of coming out. Because let's be honest, in one lap pace, the guys that have been lapping Assetto Corsa Competizione for, I don't know, 2-3 years, they've got epic amount of laps and practice under their belt. They're going to be the quickest guy on one lap pace. But over a 9-hour period, that's not the case at all. So some of these real world drivers that might not be able to just show it to the one lap pace, I reckon they're going to be really good. They're going to be much more experienced with dealing with traffic. They're going to be much more experienced with dealing with slow drivers ahead of them or any obstacles that may face, coping with the pressure. The mental part of the game, you're quite right. Mental part of the game is going to be stronger, I think, than the average sim racer. So, that's why I think they've come out of the woodwork and think, you know what, I don't do ACC, but I want to give this one a go. I really want to give it a go. And I think I feel like I got a chance.
Yeah, the mental fortitude certainly comes into it, but also I find that frustration creeps in sometimes with the real world drivers in the sim space, because certain things you just can't, maybe certain actions you might not be able to perform in the real world, or at least in the sim race that you could perform in the real world. So that's where that mental fortitude is going to come into play. The fatigue as well, after 6-7 hours of racing, I mean, the fatigue is a very real thing. One thing that I did want to mention, we're talking about all the cars early on and the car choices. Certainly an hour race is very different to a 9-hour race, and how these cars and each of them performs over an hour is going to be very different to how they perform over 3 hours, 6 hours and 9 hours. Are there any cars for you, Dan, that stand out over 9 hours specifically?
Well, what's going to be interesting tomorrow is all of these cars have a maximum stint time of 70 minutes. So just like the real world, they have to come into the pits and reset that clock. They don't have to change drivers, but they have to come into the pits to reset their clock. Now, why that's important is you've got a few of these cars that can't make 70 minutes on fuel. They burn out early, so they might be quick.
And you've got a few that'll keep going.
Pretty short. Oh, that's it. There's a few that could do more. I think the Bentley can do about 78 minutes, so he's going to have to short fill. So it'll save him a bit in a pit stop, but then you've got the Porsche that can't do 70 minutes, so it's really, really quick. But we're going to start seeing, as the race progresses, that there will be guys on different strategies and they will be overlapping. We'll be looking at that stint clock, and we can bring that up. It's one of the overlays that Dan showed me. You can bring that up so we can see immediately, oh, here's a car, he's got a pit in the next few minutes. And then we'll be able to work out which strategy works out. It's going to be super interesting. And the weather. We've got to think about the weather. We haven't seen it yet because it's fixed weather for qualifying.
Yeah, I've forgotten about it. I haven't even thought about it yet. But it always rains at Kyalami. It always rains at Kyalami. We saw footage the other day in our group from the circuit, and it was sunny skies in the one message and rainy in the very next. So
it was like 5 minutes as well, wasn't it? I think we got a photo and then 5 minutes later it's pouring with rain. Yeah, it wasn't long at all. That classic thunderstorm that lasts a short period of time, but the carnage that it ensues. We've seen both of the 9 hours in 2019 and 20 be so heavily affected by the rain that the overall leader is not necessarily the overall leader by the end. Now, we can't control the weather to the point where it's going to be as predictable as a nighttime shower. It could happen at any point. We could start in the wet tomorrow, but it's going to be interesting. All the drivers, it's the same for all the drivers, and how they cope with these changeable conditions is going to be really key in an endurance race on where they end up finishing.
Well, we've just got word that the results are almost done. So stay tuned, folks. The results are on their way. And Dan, our producer, his exact words, to quote him, is almost. So I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I'm pretty sure we're close.
They'll be with you now. As I've got that right. They'll be with you now.
Look, why are you insulting our Africanness? Is it because you're not allowed to drive? Is because you're not allowed to drive in this competition? Is that what's going on here?
I know, it's a bit unfair, isn't it, really? It's all taken away from me. So but I do feel slightly at home. We got barbecue corner instead of braai corner. I love that.
Yeah.
Because I don't get in trouble. The amount of times I got in trouble for saying barbecue in this country, and the only time I've ever seen that word ever is on a Kyalami track and barbecue downs in Johannesburg. So that's obviously what it's named after. But there's a few things. But the results will be with you now, people. Now. Stay tuned.
Another corner again that's very interesting is Cheetah, and it's such a flick into that right hand. You got the sausage combs on the right, you got the section on the left that you can sort of run off and get a penalty for track limits. I mean, speaking of track limits, Dan, what do you think is going to be happening today? Because historically at Kyalami, we have had some guys get track limit penalties over 1 hour.
It's not Spa, so it's not going to be anything like Spa, which is just notorious for it. Because you think about it, there's not many corners you can really abuse, because you're going to be off the circuit in the gravel, cutting through grass. But yes, over 9 hours, you will get warnings in Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's something to be wary of. I think also things like pit lane speeding. That's always an issue in sprint races, and that can be a killer in an endurance race. You don't want drive-through penalties. You got to go through the pits enough as it is for 9 hours. You don't want any extra additional trips through there. It's not the worst pit lane in the world for a penalty, is it? Let's be honest. It's not
Spa.
Not quite. Yeah. No. Everything's, as long as it's not Spa, I think you're feeling safe. That one really is a killer for an endurance race. But for sure, we'll get penalties at some point. We've got live stewards tomorrow as well, so don't think you can get up to any naughty tactics, you drivers watching this. There will be live stewards. Penalties will be issued during the race for anything that they spot that's infringing the driving code. So that'll be interesting. Another little factor to look out for. And we're going to have people fighting as well. We're going to have back markers fighting. So if you're in the silver class and you're racing for position, you're concentrating on that, aren't you? So the pro guys come around, try and pass you. They're not going to be as easy just to jump out the way. They're fighting for a prize themselves, you know. So a little bit different from the sprint races we're more accustomed to.
Exactly. That's such an interesting fact, because I've been watching some endurance racing recently, and that's what you find. You've got these battles that happen all over the circuit. But what historically would happen if you've got one category in sim racing, you've got 30 drivers, they're all in the same class. Driver number 29 knows that the lead is coming up behind him. But if you're leading the silver class, I mean, you've got your own fight to fight. So now 100%. That mentality changes. Who's going to give? Who's going to yield? What's the space situation going to be like as we head down to the corner? I mean, I'll be interested to see how this turns out. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of flashing lights tomorrow for some of these back markers.
They'll be wearing that flashing light button out. I was reading the rules actually, and did you know in Intercontinental GT Championship, you're only allowed to flash your lights 3 times or you get a penalty.
Yeah.
But some of these sim races,
it's aggressive driving.
They're bashing that flash button constantly.
Well, that is one of the rules in Sim Racing SA's rule set, isn't it? Aggressive use of the flashing of the lights is not allowed. So I don't know what exactly that means, but you don't want to be flashing in.
So back markers are not required to jump out the way, blue flag style Formula One. They're concentrating on their own race. It's the responsibility of the pro quick driver to get past. That's half the skill, is trying to deal with back markers, even though they're in a car that is technically just as quick as yours is. So who copes with that? That's the real difference in endurance racing.
It gives me anxiety just thinking about it. It gives me anxiety just thinking about it, because you're coming up to this car, you're not sure if they see you, you've got no seconds to waste. And what I've noticed about some of the best drivers in the world at the moment, and I would imagine it would be very similar with this type of race, is that they're able to not lose any time over the course of a lap, regardless, or not lose much time over the course of a lap, regardless of how much traffic they have to deal with. Yeah. It's amazing. It's mind-boggling.
Cross the line, you're like, well, he's 3/10 off his best and he overtook 4 people. It's like, how? I mean, that's the skill. That's the difference. That's what separates the best from the hot lappers. And we're going to see some of that tomorrow.
Oh, we're going to see a lot of that tomorrow. We're going to see the best in the country battling it out tomorrow. But there can be only one winner in the pro class, one winner in the prime class, one winner in the silver class. And today, now, we've still got the top 10 shootout, Super Pole. Oh, I love the name Super Pole. It makes me so excited. I know there's going to be some very exciting racing. And Daniel, are we swapping roles today? You're going to be doing a little bit of shouting across the line today, or you leave the shouting to me?
I'm the reserve British guy. I have to keep it all at one level. When do you ever see a British guy get excited?
Yeah, I'm the excitable Capetonian, so...
That's it. Yeah, you're there. You bring the excitement. You bring enough excitement for both of us. No, I am excited. Inside, the voice might not change, but the excitement's there. I can promise you that.
Indeed. 10 spots available. We're waiting for those tallies to be scored, folks. The drivers are getting their aggregate times worked out, and then we're going to be having and handing over to the top 10 Super Bowl shootout very shortly. We've been informed that the guys are busy working on this frantically, so feel free to comment in the YouTube section over there. I'm going to go over to YouTube now and see what's happening in the comment section. And guys, please feel free to comment and let us know what you guys are thinking about the virtual Kyalami 9 hour that's taking place right now in Cape Town, or at least in South Africa. South African drivers. So here are the results now. Oh, Custom Cut IT Solutions in first place over there. And that is, of course, the guys that were third position yesterday. They are now in first. The Tariq Adam made that happen for his team over there.
Yeah, that's a solid result, isn't it? And look how close it is.
Look at the difference.
Look at the difference. Racing Masterclass. Yes, and on
that's
average
exactly.
Time.
Yes, that's exactly
that's
what
crazy.
Tariq basically secured that position for them.
And also, racing team Astra's jumped up a spot. They've gone from fourth yesterday to third today. Slick Racing, who are our top guys yesterday, have dropped down into fourth. So there's the difference there. We've got Audi 1, 2, and 3 before we get our first Porsche. But that Porsche, I don't think really. I struggle with the traffic, doesn't it? I think certainly we've seen from yesterday's times they're capable of taking the Super Pole.
Yeah, Slick Racing is going to console themselves with the fact that they're still in it with a chance. There's still Super Bowl coming. Exalto Taro Racing, I mean, those are the big winners at the moment from what I'm seeing. Yeah, they were in 12th position, currently now in 5th place. ATK Racing were in 5th place. That's it. That's it. Jason Absmeyer, Alec Ensslin. ATK Racing in 6th position. They were in 5th, slipped down 1. And then, of course, Grumpy Monkey, also a big winner from 11 to 8th position. We got VWR Viper. We saw them earlier and doing very well. They're in 10th position yesterday, now in 9th place and in it with a chance. Kinetic in 10th position were in 13th position. That's Christian Deploy and Christian Fenter. So they'll be happy with 10th place because that means they made it into the Super Bowl category, and a big congratulations, especially to those guys like Exalta that were 12th, Kinetic that were 13th, and Grumpy Monkey that were 11th. I mean, they've done what they needed to do to make it into the top 10. An incredible job, guys. Well done.
Really good. And this is, just to remind everyone, this is where it changes. These guys have got an outlap. They can prep their tires, they can get their car ready, and then they get one shot. So I'm getting flashbacks to the hill climb here, because these guys have got one opportunity to put down one lap. They've got no excuses. There's no traffic in the way. It's just whether they can deliver on a one lap pace. So do you go hell for leather, don't care if you bin it, or do you hold back? I don't think you can hold back, can you?
Don't care if you bin it is the last thing that these guys are going to be saying to themselves now. I think they care very much if they bin it, because that's it. That's the chance that you get. I mean, you don't want to go from Custom Cut IT Solutions in first place over there to 10th place on the grid. That's too much to lose. I think guys like Kinetic and BWR certainly, especially if they've improved overall, I think that will be the one and done, all you can sort of go for it kind of thing. But I think there's too much at stake here. I think a measured approach would be a much better solution at this stage. But who am I to say? I mean, you've got to ask these drivers what their mental state is at this stage of the game. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting Super Bowl, I think.
On the ragged edge, though, that's when mistakes happen, doesn't it? You're just pushing Cheetah just that little bit too much and you clip that yellow curve. Will we see that happen? We'll find out. But it's at least nice to see such a mixture of brands. You've got Audi obviously heading the top 3, but then Porsche, Aston Martin, BMW's in there as well. Another couple of Porsches. It's a good mix. This is going to be a great top 10 shootout.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. Top 10 shootout, Super Bowl. I mean, this is what I love, these types of shootouts. I love it when you've got the best of the best in a pressure cooker situation. They have to perform. They got one and done. They got to hit this one out the park. The pressure's on. And you don't just have the pressure of yourself that you got to worry about. You got the pressure of your team that's upon you as well. And as you said, it's not just necessarily a team of 2 or 3. there could be a whole crew of guys in the background there trying to make sure that you guys do as well as possible. I know that I've been part of teams, not even as a driver, as a coach for some of the teams in the past for certain endurance races, and there's a massive vested interest in the team performing, and that's what we're going to see today. We're going to see people rubbing their hands together as their drivers make their way, as their chosen driver makes their way onto the circuit.
I mean, whatever happens, they put their car on the top 10 in the grid, and on a 50-car grid, that's not a bad place to be, is it? You're going to be ahead of half the traffic. That first hour is going to be a little bit easier for you than for those guys that messed up and started at the back or didn't set a time. So they've already done well, but only one driver gets that bragging right. I was Super Pole winner, the virtual Kyalami. How good does that sound?
Indeed,
looks pretty good on your virtual TV.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I'd want it.
I'm going through the comments over here. Ken has said, well done, Luke and Tariq. We've got Zoot saying, yeah, I think I lost more sweat than my Aston was burning fuel per lap, which I thought was quite funny.
I like that one. Well done.
A lot of guys are wishing each other luck here. We got Kyle Kivit saying power came on with 8 minutes left of Q3, so Amto have gotten one flyer. No more 30-second penalty. Well done, Kyle Kivit. So, yeah, he's dealing with some load shedding issues there by the looks of things. Marcus Stain says he can't wait for Super Bowl. That's going to be epic, Marcus Stain. I tend to agree with you on that one. Brandon says the same. And yeah, this is just, guys, keep those comments coming. We love to hear from you. And what I love to see is Super Bowl. So we're waiting frantically on the side. Well, I'm not being frantic. The guys in the back are frantic. They're working frantically. I'm just chilling here.
I'm feeling, we're chilling. We're enjoying ourselves. Yeah.
I've got honey tea over here. I've got honey tea over here.
I'm coming to APK tomorrow. You've had a free lunch and honey tea, and I'm stuck in my office. So I think I might have to come and swap with you.
Yeah. I think I might move in here. I might bring my bed in here or something like that. It's quite cozy. I'm not going to lie. It's quite cozy over here.
If we ever do a 24-hour, I'm going.
Yeah, I think that might be necessary there. I've been made to feel quite welcome here at the ATK head office. But yeah, we're just waiting for more feedback from our producer as to what's going to be happening in the next coming moments. Top 10 shootout. The drivers are busy logging onto the servers as we speak.
Just to give the audience a bit of a
minutes away.
Sorry, Anna. Just to give a bit of the audience a bit of an idea of how much works while we've been chatting. They've had to get all of those times from 3 sessions, work out the average for each team, create a server from scratch, and allocate every driver, find out who's driving, then get all the drivers in there, so that we can just sit back and enjoy some good action.
I know.
For 15 minutes.
It's
nice.
People always, I love it. People always tell me, "Oh man, you must have worked so hard." All I do is talk. Okay, all I do is talk. Dan, you too. Okay, so don't pretend to be working hard in the background. All we do is talk.
There was a lot of hard work a few weeks ago. Maybe not so much.
I apologize. You are part of the sim racing team that put this together, so I apologize. Well done for putting that together, by the way. I mean, you guys have done a sterling
credit. Tiny slither.
Yeah, you guys have done a sterling job. Really, I'm very proud to be part of this virtual Kyalami 9 hour. And I think as I log into the Super Bowl server here myself, this is going to be absolutely epic at this stage. We're waiting to see who goes out first. The drivers are currently logging on. And as soon as we get the go-ahead, we'll let you guys know out there. Yeah, man, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts. Who are you tipping to be going out? Surely the drivers will send out the fastest from yesterday. But having said that, sometimes the fastest from yesterday could be the guy that needs 10 laps to dial in.
Quite possibly. I mean, we're obviously expecting Cyrus to take the realm in the Sim Racing Masterclass. Probably expecting Leslie Oliphant to take his team that he got a hot lap in. Different now, they haven't got to deal with traffic. Slick Racing, not sure. Yeah, it will be Leslie Oliphant. Pretty sure it'll be Leslie Oliphant that takes that. Custom Cut IT Solutions, Tariq Adams, that could be a flip of a coin between those two. And Luke Addison, both very, very solid.
Indeed.
No idea who's going to take the realms there. So yes, it's going to be interesting who they select.
Yes, it's going to be very interesting. Racing Team Astra, I mean, they had JC Krobler, Stephen Vessels, Brian Lewis, in fourth position over there. I mean, ATK was in fifth, and now I think down in sixth position. Morgan McCall, Brandon Kruger, between the two of them, so close, but Morgan McCall was slightly fast with a 40.5, so I think they'll more than likely send the older of the McCall brothers out for this one. As you said, Daniel Rowe not yet today. He's going to be starting from all the way at the back, but man, this is going to be one interesting Super Bowl. I can't wait for these names and numbers to pop up on the screen. With regard to Kyalami, the circuit, Dan, the sim racing community loves the circuit generally by the looks of things.
It's not surprising because it's a cracking circuit. It's a circuit that all South African drivers can be proud of, isn't it? Because non-South African still love it, and then you know it's good. Because I mean, I love Silverstone. I grew up 20 minutes from Silverstone. Silverstone is my circuit. It's the best circuit ever in the world. That's because I'm completely and utterly biased about it. If you live in Barbecue Downs, Kyalami is the best track ever. But the biggest compliment you can ever get is when a foreigner comes on these shores and says, wow, this is a good circuit. And I think Kyalami universally gets that approval. And it's no surprise why. I was driving this week in my simulator behind me with VR on, and the elevation changes, the blind corners, it's got everything. It's such a good circuit. It's a driver's circuit. So I think it's well respected, and that's why it's historically been so well known for its 9 hour, and why drivers want to come here to race it and try and conquer that title of 9 hour Kyalami.
Yeah. I've walked that circuit, and when you walk the mine shaft, it is ludicrously steep. So steep, in fact, that you think this seems like a bad idea to drive down here, because the speed build up on that downhill section is just phenomenal. And then you've obviously got to go through the sweep and then hard on the brakes for the right-hander. It's such a roller coaster ride of a circuit, and we've got it right here in South Africa. I mean, the S's, when it comes to roller coaster sensation, that's exactly what you get going through the S's. So drivers universally do respect the circuit, and that's why I think the postponement of the Kyalami 9 hour is such a pity. But I do think drivers are going to want to come here at some stage and live that experience out. The overseas drivers are excited for this.
And what's interesting is watching some interviews from the previous two Kyalamis and from the modern era, obviously, and the very well-known drivers, the top drivers in GT. They were saying, what good track it is, but also they were very happy to have local drivers with them that are experienced, the likes of Kelvin van der Linde, Jordan Pepper. When they were in their team, they were like, it's so good to have them in our team. They've done more laps here. They can teach us so much. So it shows you what a tricky circuit it is to master if you've got the pros coming here and they're relying on the locals to help them. And that's what we saw in Superpole. In the last 2 years, Superpole, most of the time, the South African drivers were selected as their quickest guy to represent their team and try and get that fast lap. So it says a lot. But back to what we've been talking about. I think it's a circuit that every South African driver would be proud of. Put it anywhere, and I think it'd still be a classic. It really is. And the modernization of it has been amazing, transformed since Porsche took it over.
Porsche took it. Toby Fenter took it over a couple of years ago. I actually spoke to a Porsche representative a couple of days ago. Maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, but he did mention that there is the separation between Porsche and Kyalami. So Kyalami is an entity on its own, run by one of the divisions. And Toby Fenter, when the circuit went under the hammer, I think it was in 2016, I think it was, a couple of years ago, the circuit went under the hammer, and it was purchased for an undisclosed amount. What was supposed, rumors has it,
15 million or something on a quarter. A huge amount of money's gone into it.
A huge amount, because it was supposed to be a development. It was supposed to be an urban development, business park potentially. And Toby Fenter, the fact that he turned Kyalami into what it is now made it better than what it used to be. It's a grade 2 circuit now. It allows for this type of racing in the real world. It just makes it such an incredible circuit, and it makes it world class. And I sat with him at dinner a couple months ago, and I wish I'd broken the story, because my colleague who was sitting opposite me broke the story in the end. And Toby was saying that Formula One could be on the cards, man. It could legitimately be on the cards for Kyalami.
It's only
so
one one notch off, isn't it? It's only one notch down, and it's not because of the circuit. It's for silly things like hospitality and stuff. So that can be
exactly that can be fixed. That can be fixed, and those are the things that they're working on at the moment. So who knows what's going to happen? I'm looking at the comments again here. The guys from Team Try Hard Racing, I've got them on my list over here. That looks like Hansi Myberg, Dow Gerber, Paul Gerber as well. The little message to the casters, shout out to the casters. That's you and me, Daniel. So we get a little shout out as well. And we're getting some inside info over here.
Sorry, carry on.
What's that? Oh yeah, I saw that.
One of them, but having iRacing in the background.
I saw that.
I'll have to cover that over tomorrow. So kudos
tomorrow,
thanks for putting that out.
That's fine. Tell you what, you come sit here and I'll go sit there and play on your simulator all day. How's that?
Okay, yeah. Maybe we can cut to you in the ring. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We've also got Tariq. I'd love to get some feedback from the drivers here. That'd be cool. Tariq is doing qualifying. Alan Patterson. Tariq is doing qualifying. We just got that confirmation. Alan Patterson giving everybody SHI as usual. How's it, Alan? Nice to see you on the stream as always. So the usual suspects are in the mix here as well. Of course, Stephen Koenig. Good luck to all the aliens, he says. Good to see the Koenig. I think Stephen Koenig in here as well somewhere. I saw his name here as well.
Yes.
And yeah, man, it's just we've got a star-studded group of drivers. We've got real-world fast drivers. We've got the usual suspect drivers in the mix as well. You got new drivers in the mix as well. What I'd like to see some new names on the various podiums. I'd like to speak to some new people when we talk to the winning drivers over the next couple of days. Some new talent, hopefully some new talent. Kaylen Mawa, for example, from GT Sport, now in Assetto Corsa. I mean, that's a big jump, man. That's a big jump. I made that jump myself from Gran Turismo, and it takes a while. It takes a while to get used to the physics. Mm-hmm. So, Kaylen, well done for being here and making the leap.
Yeah, it's great to see a few people come from different aspects, and we're going to see different podiums anyway, aren't we? Because we're going to have a podium for the silver class, and we're going to have a podium for the Pro-Am class. So we're going to get to speak to quite a few drivers in the next 9 hours, or 9 hours tomorrow. It's going to be interesting to see those classes. We're just waiting for the server to get repopulated. We had difficulty with the first server. A couple of guys were freezing as they come in. But bear with us. It's a lot of work to try and build a server and get it online, get all the drivers in there waiting. We've got a lot of guys getting excited for this Super Pole shootout. And
yes.
It will be there. And it'll be so quick when it comes. It'll be worth the wait.
Oh, yeah.
As
totally
guys line it up.
I'm looking at the Super Pole at the moment. I'm on one of the servers here. I'm up on the right server here. This looks like it. I see Leslie Oliphant, Elric Enslen, Bartel, and Essa in the mix over there. Man, I don't like that BMW girl, but I do like the look of that BMW. The racing BMW. I think it looks kind of cool.
By the time it retires, I think everyone will think it's brilliant. I absolutely hated it. I was one of those guys that posted joke memes on Facebook.
Oh yeah, you were those guys, yeah.
You can't help it because it was just funny. And now it's like, actually, it's not so bad. I'll forgive it. And then, especially in the M4 GT3 trim, I mean, that looks flipping cool, doesn't it? It really does look pretty epic. I don't think if you forgive anything in the rest of it, it looks so good. Maybe the road going version, not quite so much yet, but we'll get there.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely get there. And I mean, I'd like to see that car up, as I said earlier, I'd like to see that car up close and personal. I'm going through the comments here as well. Hilton's Gaming giving us a shout out. Chris Heineke says Leslie is going to take Super Pole. I think
some confidence there.
Oh yeah. He's got he's got the arm emoji as well. So clearly he believes that Leslie Oliphant's going to be the man for the job.
But he showed yesterday that he's got the time in.
After all, yeah. I mean, the two of them, Chris Heineke did a 40.9, Leslie Oliphant did a 40.0, Marcus Stein did a 40.7. And I mean, they were right on top of the standings yesterday. Slick racing they were. So, I mean, he's got every right to be confident in his teammate. I don't get this one joke over here. They're talking about watch out for the banana peel I dropped out at sunset, says Ulrich Enslen. I'm not sure if that's an in-joke or something, but I think if somebody's going to make a mistake, it's going to be on Cheetah though, isn't it? Because, I mean, that is the second to last corner. The pressure is on. You've got one lap to do this in. I mean, that is just phenomenal.
Someone's going to mess up, aren't they? I'm not going to commentate occur, but there won't be 10 completed laps, I don't think. It's going to happen.
No, we won't see that at all. I don't think so either. So I do think we're going to see some people cracking under the pressure. And this is what we talked about earlier, that mental fortitude, the ability to withstand this sort of pressure, because this sort of pressure is absolutely immense. To be able to go out there and do one Super Pole lap. I mean, can you imagine the kind of pressure that these drivers are going to be under? Man, it's you'd have to go to that quiet place. You'd have to go to that quiet place to be able to deal with this
Hopefully
sort of
that'll be a
pressure.
little bit easier when you're in your office at home. You can get to a quiet place. I don't know, in some ways you're stressing out more. It starts to spiral out of control. Just looking back on comments on chat, Jason Absmar, does that mean Alaric Enslin is going to be the runner for that team? They said that they just decided whoever was quicker in the qualifying sessions would do Super Pole. But I think they were pretty closely matched between those two. Someone digging on Tariq Adams. He's got a very good chance of taking Super Pole. There's probably, all of them have got a chance, but there's probably half a dozen that have got, you'd almost wouldn't be surprised they take it, which in and itself is exciting because there's so many that can get that Super Pole.
But what I do like is that we don't have a 10-lap format. We don't have a 10-minute qualifying. We don't have a 15-minute qualifying. I feel like that certainly, there's certain guys, especially in sim racing, that thrive in that 15 minutes. And nothing to take away from them.
We take
but
advantage of the fact that we don't have to pay for fuel and tyres in sim racing, don't we? And we think, it doesn't matter if I get it in 100 laps. But in real life, you don't get that much practice. So this is going to be a good expect of who's going to come out on pole or be the person that can cope with just that one lap. Some guys just can pull it out of the bag with one lap. We've seen it all the time. And there's a few names there.
Well, I've been joined by Wayne Riddell. He's going to be talking us through the penalty structure. How's it, Wayne? Pull up a chair.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
And good, thanks.
Man.
I know that you can't hear the music and Dan on the other side.
It's fine. It's fine.
Just come closer this way.
Want me to sit on your lap?
There we go. Yeah. Let's get cozy. This is Wayne Riddell over here, folks.
Hey, guys.
He is your steward for tomorrow and today. Wayne, could you tell us about the penalty structure and how we're going to be punishing these guys for misbehaving, and what are they going to get punished for and when?
So I think the fundamental change that's going to happen tomorrow that the guys may not have been aware of over the last 18 months is that there's no 5-second, 15-second, 30-second penalties that get added to your race time. Now it's simple. You nudge somebody, you unsettle them, driver XYZ, first warning. Second time, driver XYZ, second warning.
Yeah, because it's over 9 hours.
Correct. Third time, drive-through penalty. Off you go.
Sure.
Drive-through penalty must happen within 3 laps.
Within
3 laps.
3 laps.
Otherwise, DQ, you become a spectator.
Sure.
Simple. And my reasoning for that is that there's none. We don't have a post-show that we can talk about penalties or anything. A decision must be taken. So we're doing it live, and that's how we're going to do it.
Okay.
That said, you don't get a first warning for T-boning somebody on the top. All right.
That was my next question.
That is going to go. You go straight to jail. There we go. Drive-through penalty.
Okay.
Done.
So there is the chance to get a drive-through penalty one time.
First strike, you could go straight to a drive-through.
Go straight to drive-through.
But yeah, if you guys must remember if you remember how we ran the Pro Series, was that I look at the A, B, and C pillars. Where's the contact made? Who's done? I'll look for inputs in car. I'll look from the top, the back. I'll look at all of that. I've got a team of 6 guys who are pulling data for me, and we're going to have a look, and we will make that call. But at the end of it, there's no 5-second or 15-second or 30-second added to your race time, because that's just going to create a complication.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is, it's very simple. So and so, first warning, first strike, second strike, drive through, off you go. Simple. The beauty of it is, and I think Daniel might agree, I can't hear what he's saying, but I think he may agree that when the checkered flag drops tomorrow after 9 hours, that's the winner.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way to do things. That's a very good way to do
So
things.
that to me is the right way to do it.
We've got to
Yeah.
go to the race now. We've just got the signal now. Wayne, thanks so
Awesome.
much for
That's,
joining
they
us.
got the good sorted. Fantastic. There we go, guys.
We're going to be finishing up with this. We'll be going to the Super Bowl momentarily. Thanks for that
I missed
information.
an opportunity there.
Wayne.
I missed an opportunity
What's
because
that?
Wayne couldn't hear what I was saying. So I
I
just
know.
feel like I just
I know.
missed a perfect opportunity.
No,
to
I
hear
was
what
I
he
was
was
hoping
saying.
you wouldn't say anything. I was
No.
hoping you wouldn't say anything, because then I'd have to relay that message like a translator at a UFC fight or something.
And you struggle to translate British anyway, don't you?
Exactly. More Cockney I struggle with, not British.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I'm all right
not
there.
the
I'm
Queen's
all right there.
English. The Queen's English is fine, but it's the Cockney that I struggle with.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me, Ernest. Nicest thing you've ever said to me. But it's nice
And
to
the
know
last.
that the background staff, the stewarding, that people don't see those, but 6 stewards watching the race tomorrow. We need that amount
That's
because
nuts.
there's so many cars
That's
on
nuts.
the track.
That's
So
nuts.
we've got
I
a
can't
ticket
believe
system
it.
in
I
the
mean-
Discord as well that people have an issue, they can raise it. But rest be assured that there will be a steward watching any incident. You can't get away with stuff. So it will be a fair playing ground for everyone.
No, it seems insane to have so many guys, but I think it's also necessary. You know, you want to cover all your bases. We've got to cover our bases here. We've got to make sure that we've got all the technology and all the resources available to put together one of the best shows that we can put together. The virtual Kyalami 9 hour.
Yeah, and we're going to be there shortly with the Super Bowl. I think they've got a server up. They're just waiting for guys to come in, and then we're connecting to a server. Thanks ever so much for being patient with us. It took a little bit longer than we thought it would have done. We had to take a couple of stabs at it, but Super Bowl is coming, and there'll be 10 guys in it. But I mean, they've had another 30 minutes to get even more nervous than they already were. So, yeah, that's not so good for those guys. Good for us.
Yeah. Now this is
proper good action.
This is the most nerve-wracking part of any form of competition, isn't it? It's the wait before the start. And sometimes you can start immediately. Sometimes the schedule goes according to plan, but sometimes, you've got to wait a little bit. We've got Peter Oosthuizen here saying that he agrees with the steward system. Thanks for that, Peter. And Team Tryhard ZA jumping in and saying, yeah, please be strict towards poor behavior on track. They are having drivers briefing at the moment. So drivers are having drivers briefing at the moment. And then, if we could get an indication of how much time we still need, Dan in the background there, I'd appreciate that. So just let. Okay, so it looks like we're a couple minutes away, Dan Haynes. I think we're a couple minutes away, so
not
hopefully
long.
things will get started soon. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm ready to do this now.
Well, there's 125 people watching just in our little stream, just to they're very anxious to work out who's going to be the pole sitter tomorrow. It's almost silly in a way that 9 hours, it's like you're fighting over a few meters of grid space here, aren't you? All of this just so you can be sort of 25 meters further up towards the line when the flag drops. However, it means so much still. It's so important. It is the bragging rights and the confidence you go into the race looking at clear track ahead of you.
Well, this is the thing. Motorsport's a silly thing anyways, driving around in circles on a piece of tarmac. I mean, that seems like a dumb idea, but here we are. You know what I mean?
Let's watch something else. Let's get rid of it. I don't even know why we're here.
Yeah, we are. But we love the sport. We're fans of the sport. And these drivers here are the most competitive, compelling bunch to watch when it comes to racing. So, they want to be in Super Bowl, which is what 10 teams have done. And they want to be at the front, at the end of Super Bowl. The psychological advantage, in all seriousness, the psychological advantage that one would get from going to bed tonight with a first place. I mean, yeah, you're gonna get some. You're going to get some sort of stress that comes with that, but at the same time, the psychological advantage of knowing, which one of you guys is coming second tomorrow, kind of thing, as you walk down the paddock after qualifying. That's a big advantage to have. Especially
until you get taken out in turn one.
Until you get taken out in turn one, but it's
a long run to that turn one, and it's super flipping wide as you go into the braking zone. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be action in turn one. Although I tend to find in the endurance races that I've done, There's a very different mentality in that first lap than a sprint race. It sinks in a lot more that it's pointless. You can't win it in lap 1, but you very much could just destroy 9 hours worth of good work. So there is a lot more respect in an endurance race. Generally, when you see it, most often you don't get the desperate lunges in turn 1. I'm giving all of this praise to drivers here, and I'm hoping they back me up tomorrow when we actually get to lap 1. But yeah,
Jeez,
as a general rule,
50 into 1.
Yeah.
50 into 1 doesn't go though, eh? Jeez.
There's plenty of space though. There's plenty of space. Nice wide braking zone there. Just give people a little bit of room and you'll be all right.
I think this is one of those situations where the stewards will more than likely encourage the drivers to not try and make that overtake. If you're not passed by the time you get to the brake zone, then that's not the time to do it. But these are all guys that are racers at heart. They want to win. They want to do better. They want to beat the competition. Oh man, this is a tough spot for many of these drivers going into that first corner. And even the pole sitter, as you said, he's going to got a target on his back going into that first corner.
Yeah, he's obviously got a big advantage, and if he does get away clean, then that's such a lovely place to be on the start of an endurance race with tracks free, clear of you. You've got a good session before you even get to back markers. So if you're that driver, session 1, no back markers, I'd take it.
We haven't even spoken about this. We haven't even spoken about who these teams are going to send out first tomorrow as well.
True. I mean, they might not have decided. I know plenty of them have, and they've already got a tactic involved. But there will be guys that don't want that first stint. If you're mid-pack, that's almost the hardest stint to have in the entire race, is opening stint. Just to try and survive. That's all it's there. Try and survive. Make sure you can hand the car over in the condition that you took it. That's what an endurance race is about. If you're the guy that bins it, if you're the guy that damages it, oh, you feel terrible. It's happened to me in a race. You just feel terrible. You've let your teammates down. You've let your team down. You've done something stupid. It's the worst feeling in a world. But you're always generally forgiving of your teammates because
of course
you want them to be forgiving to you when you do it. In my team, we've all had at least one go each. But yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. And a big respect to anyone that wants to take that first stint upon themselves and say, you know what, I'll take it, because that's tricky. First stint is very, very tricky.
My teammate got us from 18th position into 6th position at the 9 hour and then cooked our brakes. And then I watched the car be parked for 26 minutes before I could jump in and drive. So it's these. But the forgiveness is real, though. You can't hold a grudge for the next 8 hours and 15 minutes. You know what I mean?
You win and lose together, though, don't you? And we said you're going to need some luck. I mean, because how often you see enduros and you come around a corner, especially in the dark, and it's very dark at Kyalami. There's a car just in the way. What do you do? It's not your fault. I can take you out. Something just so unlucky. Half the time, it's just purely luck based.
Well, we saw that happen. I think it was at Monza with Kessel Racing. One of the LMP cars came out back onto the circuit after getting into a scrap with another LMP car and came right out in front of David Peddle's teammate, causing them to crash into the back of him and losing effectively out of the championship. So, that wasn't their fault at all. It was just one of the situations. I think it was, could have been Degner curves, I think it was, and he just came through the corner. And then all of a sudden, there was a car. Nothing he could do about it.
That's why we love endurance racing, though, isn't it? I mean, the fact that something like that happens is what makes you watch a race for 9 hours. Just going back to the chat, we've got JC Grobler in chat. Thinks there's 4 contenders for the pole. Brian Lewis, that is, Essa, Tariq Adams, Leslie Oliphant. Pretty solid shouts, I have to say. Those top 4 can see any one of those.
And JC Grobler saying in the end there, I'm having a brandy. Well, JC Grobler, sit back, relax. We are on our way to Super Pole. Make sure you got ice in your brandy, folks, because things are about to get hot out here. It is the virtual Kyalami 9-hour Super Pole. I'm sitting up in my seat for this one. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get the show started.
Let's go. Here we go. 2-track. Brilliant. We're finally here.
Yeah. Finally, Jason Abschmeyer out there at the moment. That's Isherwood, I apologize. That's Isherwood. Jason Isherwood out there.
Aren't we? We're going in reverse order, so we're going 10th down to first. Jason Abschmeyer's got to sit there and sweat. So that's even more pressure.
I prefer this sort of format. I prefer the reverse grid. I prefer seeing the slower guys, no offense, go a little bit fast first, and then we get to that sort of grandstand finish at the end, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because they've got nothing to lose. I mean, Jason Isherwood, this team has had an awesome run because they're in the top 10 anyway. And then when they post a lap, you sat there, and if you can hold a couple more as people go that theoretically should be quicker than you, if you hold that position, you've gained places, and that's all that they want to do. Jason Isherwood will want to try and gain places, but they got one lap to warm the tyres up and only one lap to prep. So that's going to be difficult for some, because some might want a little bit more time than that. But if you haven't, you've got one out lap and then you could go.
Can you imagine the nerves at this stage as he runs across that rumble strip there? Jason Isherwood doing about 120 kilometers an hour onto the brakes there now in first gear. And first gear takes them all the way up to 120 k's an hour, up into third now, 160, 170 through Cheetah over there. And now coming up to the final corner, this will be the run up to the finish line. He goes really wide there, takes a very wide line, trying to stretch out the circuit there a little bit and to make sure that he's got the longest possible straight, because the more straight you have, the more speed you get. Jason Isherwood now on his hot lap in that beautiful looking BMW. Surprised that he's got such a dark color. I think the BMW looks better with a slightly lighter color, if you ask me. But Jason Isherwood looking good out there as we now go on board with him. And this is his first lap. He's the first one out there. So he's got all to play for now and try and set that benchmark lap time. We saw Jason Isherwood yesterday in the number 53 car in the Retro Esports car to a time of 1:40.8. So what is his one lap time going to look like? We'll find out in a moment.
So he's coming through Sunset Clubhouse now, and then he works his way down towards the S. It's very tricky to get your line here on the S as you flick it left, making sure you don't wash wide so you can stay tight for the exit of the S's. Come up to the very difficult, completely blind. I find this the hardest corner on the circuit by far. It looks very wide.
It's one of the hardest corners in the world.
Yeah, it really is. You come up to Learcop, you're looking at a tree and you brake, and then it's like turn 10 and 11 is one as you work your way down the very, very steep mine shaft, as you say. Super, super steep, become a river in the rain, and it collects down the Crocodiles. Crocodiles braking zone is very wide again, and the corner's so stretched out, has a big exit on it. As he slings it into the Crocodiles, he'll wash it out right out and use all the curb here, wants as much track as he can. And then the flick into the Cheetah, it's just a lift off, flick in, and avoid that curb on the inside line. Comes up towards Ingwe, turns 16, final corner on the circuit, and he'll take it across the line to set our first time here in Superpole. What's it going to be from Jason Isherwood?
Oh, Jason Isherwood, all to play for you. Where he's probably going to go, he's going into first position, gets a time of 1:41.5, a little bit off his best, but a solid time nonetheless for someone that hasn't done any other laps around the circuit other than that one warm-up lap in Superpole and then onto the Superpole lap. I mean, the pressure is immense. They came from qualifying. Yes, they were a little bit dialed in, but certainly to be able to do a one and done sort of lap like that is just incredibly difficult. Jason Isherwood, provisional pole at the moment, as Mark van Rensburg now comes out for his team. Mark van Rensburg in the number 32 car over there, coming out for his team. That is BWR Vipers and Lionel Clue and Hannes van Wyk, I'm sure. Big shout out to you guys watching on with bated breath. And look at that line. He's taking the same line. It's not about setting the fastest lap time the previous lap. It's about setting the fastest lap time now, really straightening that straight out as long as possible. And I love how you took us around the circuit there, Dan, giving us a little bit of a track guide there. And that corner you're talking about at the top of the hill, I've been around there a couple times. And the first time I was taken around by an instructor trying to learn the circuit, and he told me, aim for the tree. And I was literally shouting, what tree, what tree? Because it doesn't make any sense. But until you see it.
It's the same point in the sim as it is in real life. Everyone says you got to point it at the tree and just hope that that's the right line. And it is. It's bang on. If they ever cut that tree down, there'll be accidents for days.
Big time. Big time. It's been there for years, and the Kyalami brass have said they're not cutting the tree down anytime soon.
Just move it 4 inches to the left or right. Anyway, I'm not. If I was on the other side of the fence, you might be tempted to do that. But we're on a flying lap now from Mark van Rensburg, and he's quick in a Porsche. He really is. And I think he's good. It's all about how quick you can get, or how close you can get to your personal best. That's what this is all about. You've got one lap. You can get close to your personal best in one lap. You've really done well. You can't really complain. And Mark van Rensburg, I've seen him do it in the past.
Yeah, Mark van Rensburg pushing really hard now. He's coming up to the last couple of corners on the circuit. He goes mid-track. You got to aim for the center of the circuit. There grabs a lot of curb there, going through the right-hander. Now coming through the final few corners. He's going to try and keep his composure here. Make sure that he doesn't make any mistakes. The final left-hander is upon us. He runs all the way to the left-hand side, to the right-hand side. You can see that wheel right up against a little bit of a squirrely motion there by the BWR Vipers car. They cross the line. He goes. Mark van Rensburg gets second place with first place, 140.9. 140.9 Mark van Rensburg. That's a great time from Mark van Rensburg. A very good time. Mark van Rensburg's best time yesterday was a 141.0. So he's beaten his seeding time, and that's exactly the kind of position you want to be in. Anything more than that, I mean, that's asking too much. I think Mark van Rensburg should be very happy with that. And Team BWR Vipers, they will be ecstatic with that result.
I think he's going to jump quite a lot of spaces. His team finished 9th. He's not going to be in 9th place at the end of the Super Pole. He's going to be further up the grid than where they qualified in the first 3 sessions. So great showing there from Mark.
Great showing. And that's what all you can ask for. I mean, your team is going to be so proud of you going into this. Your team's happy with you. Morale is high. Even if they don't get the top position for the day, which some teams are not in the running for anyways, you know, he's going to have a very satisfied team in his corner, and that's all he can hope for at this stage. Well done to that team. Well done to Mark.
And we got Ross Bartle now as our second BMW. Have to say, this one's looking a little bit more flash, isn't it?
Oh,
Yellow
yes.
on one side, black on the other. That's quite dynamic. As we see two sides of this BMW M4 GT3. We've never seen this yet in real life. We get to see it in the simulator before it gets fully launched out and released in next year's championship. So it's looking quick already, though. 2 straight into Super Pole, the only 2 we've got on the grid. And Ross Bartle, very, very rapid driver. Again, he'll be right up there with Mark van Rensburg, at least, I would say. And he's halfway through his hot lap.
Yeah, Ross Bartle, part of Grumpy Monkey Racing. Yesterday did a 141.0, so you're right. He's going to be right up there with Van Rensburg. That's about his time that he would be aiming for. Man, that car looks fantastic. I gotta say, I think that car looks amazing, especially in that color. That's obviously the BMW launch color that the M4 came out in. It really does do the contours of the car justice as he grips his way and squeezes through the mine shaft now into the hard braking zone mid-corner. It's always tempting to go all the way to the left-hand side of the circuit there, but that's not the move. The move is to go mid-circuit as he makes his way now through the final section. Runs a little bit wide there. That's not ideal. The lap does still count though, and he's not going to be happy with that, but not too big of a mistake from Bartle over there as Bartle slides up into second place with a 141.2.
I think he lost a bit of time through Cheetah, didn't quite, went a bit wide and just had to probably lift more than he wanted to as he touched the grass and would have lost a couple of tenths at least. So that's what's dropped him back behind Mark van Rensburg. But nice showing from the BMW, good to see it out. BMW put everything into that car, haven't they? It's basically GTE and GT3 now. The M4 is a big deal for BMW. It replaces some pretty big heroes in the M8 and M6.
Exactly, and cars that have become iconic in their own right, cars that have numerous wins underneath them, and this car's got big shoes to fill. But by all accounts, the drivers that are involved in the development of that car have sounded happy with the progress. This is the PWSR Porsche with Kieran Patterson behind the wheel in a 2-man team comprising of him and Byron Kutzer. Kieran's best time yesterday was a 141, but obviously he's got some more pace in him, which is why they've sent him out there. And as he downshifts through the gears, down into first gear, change up into second gear now we go on board with Kieran Patterson. And Kieran Patterson looking very aggressive. They were not using all of the circuit on the right-hand side. They're just lining the car up. The green flags waving as the PWSR Porsche makes its way around the circuit for its one and only hot lap in the Super Pole virtual Kyalami 9-hour powered by Monarch GTSA. Of course, Joburg, City of Joburg, and the boys at Sim Racing SA.
Yes, nice to see them. And Kieran Patterson is a driver that spends a lot of time in Sim Racing SA and know him very, very well as he finishes the S's and comes up to the difficult Leocott corner and goes through turn 11 and 12 before he starts coming down the mine shaft. This is where you can really, I think this is where you make a lap here. Leocott, Crocodiles and Cheetah, those three corners is what really sets out the best and sets them apart from the rest. And that gets you that ultimate time deep into the 140s. But Kieran Patterson is a very well-known driver in Assetto Corsa Competizione in several communities here in South Africa. Very experienced and much improved driver as well over the last year or so.
Yes.
Watched him develop a lot.
Yes. He's jumped up over, I mean, he was voted our most improved driver at one stage, and now he's swinging it with the big boys now in the number
really
101 car, as Kieran Patterson, no longer the student, he's now become the
Straight
master,
to the
goes
top.
into first position, 140.7 there for Kieran Patterson, and a fantastic performance as we see the first of what looks like the ATK car. This is Morgan McCall here in the first of the Aston Martins, making his way around the circuit. Aston Martin growling its way around the circuit with sort of a low drumming sound coming from that engine.
And he's the only McCall we've got representing us this weekend because Junior McCall, unfortunately, has got to practice his studies. It's exam season right now and wasn't allowed to race in the 9 hours. It's a bit of a shame because he's usually right up there with Morgan, isn't he? He'll be gutted. So hopefully he gets some good school results as Morgan McCall takes us across the line to start his hot lap.
Yeah, that's one of the prices you pay for being that young and that talented, is that you've still got to go to school, mate.
Yeah, get to school and let your brother do it. Morgan McCall, he will be flying the McCall household flag, and he looks pretty smart in that ATK Aston Martin as he starts his hot lap and he comes up through barbecue.
I'd love to know the motivation behind choosing this car. I think I'm going to shoot old Senior McCall a message later on. I'm sure he's hearing me right now. He normally sends me messages on Discord if he hears me talking about him and the boys. But I'd love to know the motivation behind choosing this specific car, as Morgan McCall works the wheel quite hard there. The car seems to be moving a little bit underneath him, which is kind of what you want. But at the same time, you want the car to be as planted as possible. But when you're on the limit like this, I mean, you're going to get a little bit of movement of the car underneath you because you're absolutely at the limit. And there's that tree. Aims for the tree, hard on the brakes, makes his way through the top of Leeuwkop now, down the mine shaft, turn 12, into the Crocodiles they go.
It's such a hard, I keep saying it, but Leeuwkop is just a really difficult corner. It just completely and utterly blind. And if you go in there too quick, you can't do anything about it. You're finished.
Yeah.
So, it's difficult to master. It really is.
And it's a weird double apex of sorts that kind of doesn't end. You take the corner and you wait, and you take the corner some more, and then you wait, and then it ends. And because of the nature of the mine shaft, that's one of the most important corners on the circuit. So if you get that corner wrong, you're losing a lot of time. You're leaving a lot of time on the table. Speaking of time on the table, here comes Morgan McCall now. And let's see how he does. Across the line with a 140.877, gets second position. Just 1/10 of a second so far down from first place. Kieran Patterson, who's be happy with that. Van Rensburg, another 1/10 of a second down. 2/10 further down the line is Bartle with Isherwood with a 141.5. So far, 5 cars down. So far, the fastest time, a 140.7, which is a very respectable time from Kieran Patterson. And just listen to the sound of that Audi, as only the Audi sounds. Elric Enzler now in the number 666 car, partnered, of course, by the very popular Jason Abschmeyer in the Audi, now making his way across the line to start his hot lap. Here we go, folks. This is your top 5 making their way through the circuit.
Yeah, it really does sound good, that V10, as it comes into the braking zone of Crowthorne, and he throws it in there very, very wide, almost a few lines through there, but obviously not when you're going for an ultimate hot lap, but it will be tomorrow in turn 1. Comes up through Juxie's sweep into barbecue, down towards the Sunset Straight. Just shows you how good that Kieran Patterson lap was, really, isn't it? He's got a 10th in hand over Morgan McCall. I think he might jump a few more spots. He really put a blinder in. But Alaric Enslin, he's coming through Sunset now, coming up towards Clubhouse, and at halfway through the lap.
Yeah, halfway through the lap indeed, and this is going to be shatteringly fast stuff. Alaric Enzlin's been known to be very, very quick indeed. So what is he going to be able to do? Is he going to be able to oust some of these guys out of the top 5? I suspect he won't be in 6th position, but I do suspect that he's going to be fighting for somewhere up top for that top position. Elric Enselen in the Audi R8 LMS. Let's see how he does down the mine shaft now. Here he goes.
I have to just try and keep a mental note of these top speeds they're reaching down the mine shaft before they hit the braking zone. He's at like 125, 126, 130. Brake to 230 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, I thought you were talking in miles an hour there for a second.
Sorry, yeah, 230. I was getting like slightly ahead of myself, but then just a mental note of their Audi. We'll see how it compares with some of these other manufacturers as we move on. But coming around Ingwe now, the last corner. Where's Elric Enselen gonna come on the spot up the grid? I'm thinking in sort of second. I don't think it's enough for Kieran Patterson. It's not. Second place he goes.
Oh,
so great lap from Kieran Patterson.
Yeah, Kieran Patterson happy to be on top. And I mean, considering who he's up against here, as Elric Enselen crosses the line there in second position. Here comes Leslie Oliphant.
On paper, the quickest guy we've seen, because yesterday he set a 140 flat. Now, I don't know how many laps he took to do it, but he's done it once. Can he do it again? Can he even get close to it? He's only got to beat a 140.7 to go to the top of the pile. It'd be a bit of a shock if he didn't, to be honest, as he comes around the final corner. Like you said, stretch this lap out as much as you can in that final corner on your warm-up, just to gain a millisecond. Every little millisecond counts as you get it to the end of your hot lap.
It's often said the most important corner on the circuit is the one before the longest straight. So that final corner there, Ingwe, going onto the main straight, turn 16, it's got to be nailed. It's got to be perfect. But if you can lengthen it ever so slightly, it means you get more speed as you cross the line, which means you get a shorter distance to travel towards the first corner. So at least not a shorter time to travel towards the first corner, and that's exactly what these drivers want. They're trying to, it's a drag race basically, corner to corner drag race, and that's what they're trying to do at this stage, trying to line themselves up. As Leslie Oliphant, one of the fastest sim racers in the country, winner of numerous competitions and races, now makes his way around the circuit in the 353 Porsche. Oliphant has been consistently fast. Their team was on top of the standings yesterday, and Oliphant was the fastest driver in the entire competition. So here comes Leslie Oliphant now. He's going to be the man to beat. He makes his way now through turn 10 into turn 11, which is effectively the second half of Lucorp now down the mine shaft. Speeds now 190. We said earlier on 230 kilometers an hour. I think it was that you mentioned earlier on, Dan. Hits a top speed of 228 k's an hour, does Leslie Oliphant.
What you'd expect, really. Porsche just a couple of k's slower than the Audi. V10 power down the mine shaft, really. But the Porsche will be quick in the bends. So it's shown it's the quickest car so far this weekend with yesterday's seeding times. Can Leslie Oliphant get close to his personal best, though? That's what's important. He's got to beat a 140.7 to go to the top of the pile. Surely he's done it. He has 40.4.
40.4, Leslie Oliphant, the fastest man, and now we make our way to the tip of that spear. Brian Lewis now up next, or at least, sorry, Tariq Adam. Oh no, we're cutting to Brian Lewis. Brian Lewis up next. I apologize. Leslie Oliphant, Tariq Adam, and Zahir Essa still to go. Oliphant, unsurprisingly, in first place, but what is surprising is the gap to second, 0.3 of a second. The gap to Kieran Patterson, a big gap as the Audi makes its way through. It'll be interesting to see what Brian Lewis does, because of course each team uses a different setup as the RTA car slows its way down to make its way all the way to the right hand side of the circuit there, and now heads towards the start finish line. The flag is flying, and here comes Brian Lewis.
Yeah, and we're really getting down to the pointy end of the grid now. We expect these three cars they've got to be with Leslie Oliphant or splitting Leslie Oliphant and Kieran Patterson. Anything less than that, they will not be satisfied. Brian Lewis had a brilliant second session, topped his session in the qualifying earlier. If he can just pull it off for one more lap. I think Oliphant's left enough on the table. We've seen faster times than 140.4 here today already. We were getting about 140.2, I think Esso and Brian Lewis managed to top their sheets. So there's a couple of tenths in it there. Just making sure you keep it clean for one lap, and you've only got one preparation lap as well.
Sure. One warm-up lap, one preparation lap. That's all you get. And then it's all in for your hot lap, which we now currently see Brian Lewis on. Brian Lewis making his way through the long sweeping right hand over there now. And currently the number 420 car is looking very, very good into that hard braking zone over there. But will he be able to go as fast as his counterparts now down the mine shaft in that Audi 230 kilometers an hour, the time to beat? And then will he be able to go up in the standings? He's got a 140.4 to beat. That's Leslie Oliphant, of course. And Brian Lewis looking very good out there. The car looking good too. I love the livery on this car. RTA guys, always active on the social media and of course in the sim racing community. Hard on the brakes there, onto the rumble strip, through the final left-hander now. Number 420 going towards the finish line. Will he be able to take it? This is Brian Lewis in the number 420 car. Across the line, gets second place with a 140.6. Only just shy.
Bit surprising. Yeah, that was. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed because he's left a bit of a gap between him and Oliphant for others to sneak in there as well, hasn't he? So
yes.
Yeah, 140.6 from Brian Lewis. It's enough for second place at the moment. I'm anticipating it won't be enough for second place by the end. We've got Tariq Adams now next up for the custom cut IT Solutions car.
Tariq Adams, as you mentioned, arguably one of the faster drivers yet today, has been tipped to potentially at least be on the front row. And as you mentioned, with Lewis leaving so much time on the table between him and Leslie Oliphant, this puts Tariq in a fantastic position to be able to capitalize on that. Look at that wide line he's taken there in the number 33 car. Yesterday, the number 33 car ran third. His teammate Luke Addison also very fast. So between the two of them, I do think they are on average one of the fastest teams on this list here today.
Yeah, they've got a really good chance tomorrow, and the way you get a perfect start is to put it on pole, isn't it? So they'll want to try and start at the sharp end without anyone in their way. Clean track position for the first hour. That'll be real key to try and gap the people behind them. But yeah, strong showing from the custom cut IT Solutions car and the Audi. And Tariq Adams got one opportunity to put this on pole. Leslie Oliphant, just a reminder, to 140.4. I think there's 2/10 in there somewhere. Someone's going to find it. I'm expecting a 140.2 from either this car or the Masterclass car next.
Someone's going to find it, and is that someone Tariq Adams? He now makes his way through the S turn 8 and turn 9 up the hill towards the G. And he's currently doing 198 kilometers an hour, 200 kilometers an hour, hard on the brakes then for the left-hander. And then down the hill, we said earlier, 230 so far, the top speed of the Audi we saw earlier on. Plenty Audis in this field over here today, as Tariq Adams now makes his way down the hill, gets a top speed of 232.
32. Yeah, that's it. That's that. Well, on that pace alone, he's 2 kilometers an hour quicker. On that alone, it's a good omen, isn't it, for when he comes down here through the Crocodiles. Now Cheetah, flicks it into Cheetah, final corner Ingwe. Much harder than it looked, as you said previously, but he's putting everything. He's using all the track here as Tariq Adams. I think this is enough. I think it's enough. I think he's going to go to the top.
Tariq Adams crosses the line, goes into 5th place.
No way.
40.8.
Wow.
I think he lost it on that last corner there. Unfortunately,
wow,
possibly going a little bit wide there, and just not able to get that lap that he so badly needed. As Zahir Essa now makes his way through. The warm-up is now underway. Zahir Essa, the man that everybody's watching, is the final person on the circuit, and he is now making his way to cross the finish line, or the start-finish line. Zahir Essa, one of the fastest drivers in the country when it comes to sim racing, that is for sure, and making his way down to the start-finish line in that Audi. It's the first time I've seen him in an Audi. And let's see how Zahir Essa does, making his way through the first sector now.
I'm trying to get over the shock of Tariq Adams' lap, finishing 5th. That is a real surprise, and it just opens the door for Zahir Essa to get the perfect start to the virtual Kyalami 9 hour as he comes down towards sunset. And he really has he's going to be at least on the front row, surely, with the gap from Oliphant to Brian Lewis. No one's set a perfect lap yet. Can it be Zahir Essa's chance? Coming through Clubhouse now, and then he'll work
Zahir Essa.
towards the S.
if anyone can do this, it's going to be Essa. He's able to, as he gives it a little bit of a dab of the brakes there just before the S's. If anybody's able to do it, it's Essa. So far, the lap looks absolutely bang on. The car bouncing around a little bit, a bit of a soft suspension setup on the Audi. It really touches the inside of the curb ever so slightly, runs wide, goes mid-corner, and then now makes his way down the mine shaft.
And let's keep an eye out for his
hour.
top speed, shall we? We had 232, but it didn't make any difference for Tariq Adams, who messed it up towards the end.
231. Yeah, and the thing is, it doesn't. Sometimes the speed at the end of a certain section doesn't matter because you've lost too much distance. For example, as he does, runs a little bit wide in the grass there as well. Does Zahir Essa, the final driver in our list? This is for pole position, folks. Zahir Essa, will he be able to do it? He touches the sand on the exit, goes across the line. Zahir Essa does second place as Leslie Oliphant gets
it's the
first
same
place.
Time.
Look at the time.
It's the same time.
140.445. 140.445.
I don't believe it. I've never seen that before.
Unbelievable. It's tie for first place. But why has the game given him second position? Is it because
they've probably gone down another digit we don't get to see?
Exactly. We need to go to ads. There's lots to talk about, folks, and this is what Super Pole's about. We knew it was going to be exciting. We didn't know it was going to be this exciting, but we'll see you guys after the break.
The 2022 season is upon us, and South Africa finally has an FIA-approved GT3 series. 6 rounds, 12 races, including the prestigious Kyalami 9-hour. The fastest South African drivers will compete on equal terms thanks to a complex system called balance of performance. Before each round, there will be an almost identical virtual round. This is South African GT Racing, and we'll see you in 2022.
The Intercontinental GT Challenge powered by Pirelli heads to South Africa for the third modern rendition of the now world-famous Kyalami 9-hour. After action at the 24-hour at Spa in July and the 8-hour of Indianapolis in October, the championship fight between Audi, Ferrari and Mercedes-AMG is poised on a knife's edge. We are in for another epic conclusion to a very exciting season. For more information and ticket sales, visit Kyalami9hour.com. See you at Kyalami.
Holy
wow. That is
I'm kind of reeling
Never
right
seen
now.
that.
I'm kind of reeling right now. Yeah, I know,
crazy.
it's nuts. It's madness. Crazy. Well, there you go, folks. This is what happens when you pit the best sim racers in the country against each other. You got those two drivers right at the top of their game. Zahir Essa only just coming in second position. Technically, you got the same time, but according to the rules, the person to do it first is the one that gets to keep the time. So Zahir Essa did that lap time second, and unfortunately just beats out Leslie Oliphant, or just loses to Leslie Oliphant. I mean, I would love to have had a camera on Leslie Oliphant now to get his reaction to all of this, because that was excuse the pun, a masterclass from both of them.
That's sweet. I mean, he topped the times yesterday, and he'll be really happy with the fact that he topped the times yesterday. But to do it with one lap against Zahir Essa, Leslie Oliphant, you're a legend, mate. And he's going to be so chuffed with that. He really is going to be happy. That is a feather in your cap if ever you see it. You are the virtual Kyalami 9-hour Super Pole winner. How cool does that sound? Put it on your CV.
Very cool stuff. And the front row of this grid will be officially one of the closest front rows ever in South African sim racing history. You said you've never seen it. I've certainly never seen it, especially not from the top two drivers. So you've got identical times for the top two drivers, both of them on the front row of the grid, depending on who they put in, obviously. But you've got the car sitting on the front of the grid. Leslie Oliphant's team is going to be ecstatic with him. Zahir Essa and the guys from Sim Racing Masterclass, hard luck on that one. Unfortunately, the rules got them this time. But Leslie Oliphant and Slick Racing make their way to the top of the standings again for the second day in a row. And it's really all that counts. Seeding counts, this counts, and Leslie Oliphant and his team are right on top of that list. We're also going to be tomorrow, of course, delving into the Silver Cup and Pro-Am and Silver classes. But for now, I think let's focus on the winners because, I mean, what a fantastic performance. A couple of disappointing ones over there. A couple of people that we expected to see further up on the list. Tariq Adam perhaps not living up to some of the potential that he's shown before. Kieran Patterson, however, certainly stepping out and constantly improving, at least from my vantage point, over the last couple of years.
Yeah, he did well. But I mean, it's all down. All praise goes to Slick Racing and their number one position. They've had a perfect start. In the Friday seedings, they topped the grid and they got Super Pole. I mean, can they top it tomorrow? That would be the one that you really want. That's the one that actually counts. If you get that, they've got the clean sweep. So Slick Racing are the team to beat. And Marcus Stain, Leslie Oliphant, Chris Heineke, they're going to go to, like you said, they're going to sleep well tonight. Or will they?
Yes.
Whoever's got the opening stint possibly won't.
You kind of go to sleep maybe a little bit nervous, maybe a little bit concerned about how things are going to go tomorrow. But you also go to sleep with a slightly smug look on your face when you know that you've just been...
I want to take a photo with Leslie Oliphant's face while he sleeps tomorrow with the smug look.
Oh yeah, he's going to have such a smug look on his face tomorrow because you've beaten Zahir Essa, Michael Steven, and Stuart White. And this is one of the risks that comes with being someone like Stuart White and Michael Steven. They come in here knowing that everybody here wants to beat them. You know what I mean? Everybody here wants 100%. To beat the pro racer. So it's a moral victory for the team, but at the same time taking nothing away from Zahir Essa and his performance. I mean, come on, man. Exactly the same, down to 3 decimal points. There's the reason they call themselves Sim Racing Masterclass, isn't it?
It's absolutely crazy, but it sets us up amazingly for the race tomorrow. I mean, that first hour is going to be super exciting. And then as we start to see strategy come into play, we've got a Porsche versus an Audi. What difference is that going to make? Whether it will be a difference, I don't know. It's so much to look forward to tomorrow. This has just been a very small taster of what the virtual Kyalami 9 hour can bring. We got 9 hours of it tomorrow. So everyone wants to make sure they're tuned in. We start 12 o'clock is lights out. Get there before. Don't want to miss it. That starts.
You do not want to miss it. I'll tell you, another team that's not going to miss it is Racing Team Astra, who managed to get third place, number 420 car. That's Stephen Vessels, of course, a sterling performance from Brian Lewis. JC Krobler in the mix as well. He's no stranger to the podium either. So congratulations to all the top 3 finishers, all the top 10 finishers, the pro class, the pro-am class, the silver class, all the drivers that made it into the top 50 to begin with, and those that signed on the dotted line. We look forward to seeing you guys perform. My name is Ernest Page. That is my man Daniel Haynes. This is the virtual Kyalami 9 hour, and we'll see you guys when the lights go out tomorrow at 12. See you there.
The 2022 season is upon us, and South Africa finally has an FIA-approved GT3 series. 6 rounds, 12 races, including the prestigious Kyalami 9 hour. The fastest South African drivers will compete on equal terms thanks to a complex system called Balance of Performance. Before each round, there will be an almost identical virtual round. This is South African GT Racing, and we'll see you in 2022.
The Intercontinental GT Challenge powered by Pirelli heads to South Africa for the third modern rendition of the now world-famous Kyalami 9 Hour. After action at the 24-hour at Spa in July and the 8-hour of Indianapolis in October, the championship fight between Audi, Ferrari and Mercedes-AMG is poised on a knife's edge. We are in for another epic conclusion to a very exciting season. For more information and ticket sales, visit Kyalami9hour.com. See you at Kyalami.